Okay, all right. So the pitch session has started, but we're going to wait a few minutes, let viewers find out. Guys, if you want to let everyone know, I know you guys may have shot a note before, but if you want to shoot an additional note to our fans, let them know we're started. We will wait a few minutes for people to start to join us, and then we'll get going from there. I will do the same.
Is there a link that you have to the YouTube channel?
No, unfortunately not. No, you can just go ahead and drop it in if you want. People are starting to show up. We got followers who follow us and stuff. So we will get started here in just a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and still let our fans know.
Yeah, I got the link. I'm about to do it right now.
All right. Okay, all right. So, folks, we are live. I know we are, as usual, running a few minutes behind. We're trying to coordinate getting everyone involved in the call. We're expecting Whyt Manga to join us a little bit later, and we should have Raymond Brown here. Actually, here's Whyt right now. So we should have Raymond possibly joining us as well. Raymond, one of the additional co-founders in the company. My name is Frederick Jones, the founder and publisher of Saturday AM, and I want to welcome you guys to our 4th episode of Pitch Session. This is a brand new show we started a couple of months ago where we essentially take some of the amazing fans that we have and associates that we have who are wanting to create their own shonen manga or their own comic series and or webcomic, and we give them a platform to pitch us essentially their concept, and then we proceed to discuss it and critique it. And this show's really been surprising in terms of how many people have embraced it, because I think at the end of the day, that's what we all want, right? We all want to have a chance to put our work out there and have it seen. And unfortunately, a lot of the big websites, it's very easy to get lost when you post your content up, and so you don't really get a good sense of whether or not you're getting any feedback. Likewise, getting people who actually do this sort of thing. So it's different getting critiqued by someone who, just likes random things on the internet, or someone who, reads stuff because it's free, versus people who actually have skin in the game, if you will, people who either spend money on independent creators and or groups like Saturday AM that are actual publishing brands associated with original independent creators. So again, kind of a unique concept with Pitch Session, and again, the show is done surprisingly well for us, so we're really happy at that. But before we get started, I want to talk first about Saturday AM. If you guys don't know what that is, of course, I have to take a few minutes and talk about what Saturday AM is, and more importantly, I then have to make sure that we discuss what makes Saturday AM and what makes this episode so special tonight, because this is not a normal episode of Pitch Session. So I'm going to, if you look at your screen here, you're going to see some things happen on the screen, and this is just kind of how we do it. We, of course, are not a big budget company. We don't quite yet have that sort of funding and financing, although we've been very fortunate to have built a brand with the sort of fan base that we do indeed have. So we're going to get started here talking a little bit about what Saturday AM is. And let me start off first and foremost with the brand. Saturday AM is what you see here. It is the world's most diverse shonen manga anthology. What that means, of course, is that if you are a fan of some of the titles like Naruto or One Piece or Dragon Ball, so on and so forth, you may have wanted to see those properties done with a different perspective. You may want to see those properties done with characters who look like you, or storylines that take place in cultural backgrounds that have a greater impact for you, or might heighten the action you may think. So that's what Saturday AM is. Our objective is to try to create this sort of property that you would enjoy, with that same sort of concept where it comes out on a regular basis, but at the same time, try to have brand new content coming from extraordinary creators from around the world. You can see here on the screen just how diverse the content is. We're not talking about the same art style. We have art styles that are cartoony, art styles that are super realistic, art styles that are unique, everything. So so we're really blessed and excited to have built this brand. In fact, we are about to hit upon our 5th anniversary, our 5th year of publishing Saturday AM with our 100th issues. So we're really, really excited about that. If you see the brand trending on various social media called Road to 100, you will know that that is us talking about the things that we're doing as we count down to this milestone that very few independent companies have done, and certainly very few companies who are trying to do like the Shonen Jump model have ever accomplished. We're really proud of this distinction. And that's what makes this episode so special tonight, is that 2 of the creators who are with us near the beginning, one of the creators who helped me found the company, and then another creator who joined us shortly after and has been with us for a long time as a co-owner of the company, and then one of our most exciting, newest creators to join the Saturday AM are here tonight for this episode of Pitch Sessions. Typically, Pitch Sessions is myself and another of our creators, but this is 3 of our biggest creators here on the chat with me. And I want to introduce them right now. And I'm sure you guys know who they are. I'm sure they don't need much of an introduction, but let's start out with the newest member, Mr. Jeyodin. He's the creator of Hammer. He actually looks like this. Jay, how are you doing tonight?
I don't look like that. I'm doing good though. I'm having a great day. I've just been, drawing a bunch, and yeah, I just got off of work, so it's been cool.
Very cool. And Hammer is your series. We're extremely proud to have it. It's just an action-packed fantasy adventure. It's one of the few series I think that actually fits the label of adventure, because it actually is epic in its scope. When you created this, you've had this idea for a long time. Does it seem like it's kind of moving in the direction in terms of people starting to discover it more and get excited about it more? Do you feel the excitement starting to build with it?
Yeah, I can't wait. Once Volume 1 drops, I think it's gonna be better and better.
All right, we're gonna talk about Volume 1 because that's part of the reason we're chatting tonight as well. One of the reasons that we've got you on the chat, but we'll do that here in a minute. Next up, we have this person. Now, folks, she is a very aggressive person. She was extremely animated tonight on our private internet chat that we have. She got very, very emotional and angry about something, which for her is like a Care Bear. It's like Grumpy Bear when she gets upset. And this is Andea Voros, creator of Saigami. Andrea, how are you doing tonight?
Apparently, I'm angry.
Yeah, yes, you're like I'm trying to think of like the cutest animal that gets angry.
Like a bear hamster.
Like a bear? What?
What's
like the weakest?
So
no,
like a bear hamster.
Yes, like a hamster. I was getting ready to say, like, what is the cutest Pokemon? And then draw him with slightly aggressive eyebrows, and that would be it. That would be it. So how are you doing today?
I'm good.
Good. And so you are the creator, obviously, of Saigami, not Hammer. Saigami. You joined Saturday AM in our 3rd issue with the interview, but then you actually started Saigami regularly in the 4th issue. Have you been surprised to see the changes that we've had in the last few years?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You are one of our female creators. You're our longest serving female creator, one of our most important female creators. But we subsequently have added a few more women to the group, and we hopefully will add even more. Are you excited to see the growth in female creators in this space?
Yeah, I am. It was really nice to have more females on board, and it's really nice to see that female creators are getting more and more attention.
I agree. I totally agree. And it does seem like it seems like it's always been there. I had a great conversation with a luminary in the manga space a couple of weeks ago. I've told you guys about this offline. We won't reveal who the person was to the public, but we had an interesting conversation, she and I, and one of the things that she said, because she's near my age and I'm much older than you guys, and one of the things that she said that was kind of funny was that when she was young and when I was young, if you were a fan of manga, you thought that it was mostly women who made it. it was rare if you were not Japanese that you thought men made manga, because the biggest manga titles that in the 80s had penetrated globally were from women. You know, Rama Half and Clamp and the creators of a variety of series. I can't think of all the name of them right now. Tsubasa Chronicles and other stuff like that. There are just so many female creators who are so significant in the world of manga in the 80s that that it has been interesting to see where manga is today and to see just how few there are, you know, how big some of the female creators are today. But it is interesting. So, all right. So thank you, Andrea. We're obviously going to be chatting with you throughout the night. And then, folks, this is someone you guys have wanted to see on the chat for some time. He's been super busy. He is got his hands in so many different things, but he is obviously one of our biggest creators, one of the biggest independent manga creators in the world. He's one of the most important African manga creators. I don't even know if there are other African manga creators. It's the one and only Whyt Manga Odunze Agogo. He and I started Saturday M together when I first approached him. I don't know how old he was, 19 or so. He was doing stuff on Manga Magazine, and Raymond Brown introduced me to him. But it's been an incredible honor to see Whyt have grown into this real force. And he's not even, if this were soccer, for those of you guys who care about soccer or sports, it's as if he is he's not even quite in his prime, is the best way to put it, right? Like I'm seeing someone who I know is extraordinary. I knew it when I met him, but he's not even there yet. He's not even quite yet at the place where he would be this rock star that we know he will be. So yeah, I'm extremely excited to have Whyt Manga on. Whyt, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Fred. Thanks for the nice intro. Thanks for having me. I've wanted to be on pitch. I'm happy to see that, you know, it's done pretty well on the channel as well. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And so, folks, so what you guys don't know, obviously, Whyt has a massive YouTube channel on its own, Whyt Manga TV. I'm sure you guys know what that is and know all about Whyt's channel. If you haven't subscribed to it, you should. But what I'll say beyond that is that, Whyt, you help us with our YouTube channel. What's some of the things with this show in particular? What do you think, like in terms of what you've seen, in terms of people being able to come to it and pitch their series? Do you think that, you know, do you see why this is kind of catching on? Do you think there's something like this regularly on YouTube, or in your experience, is this something that is kind of unique in what it does?
Oh, I think it's definitely unique, and I literally don't think there is any other channel doing anything like this. And clearly there is an audience for it. There are a lot of people who have ideas, people who are like more serious than others, people who are, I guess, more determined and devoted than others. Either way, everyone's curious to know how good they really are, you know, and getting some feedback from people who actually have experience in the industry. Whether it's for a deal or not, it's always good to get feedback, and I'm sure people realize it. Some people just want to get their work in front of others, and I think pitch sessions and the other things that we do on this channel provide several things to an audience like that.
Well, there you go, folks, right from the man himself. And one of the things, again, I'll say is that, you know, Whyt's helping us. Hopefully, we're going to continue to build this channel a lot. So if you're not following Whyt, which I doubt that's the case for the people who follow us, I'm pretty sure you're all following Whyt. If you're not, obviously go to Whyt Manga TV. By the way, the other two creators I just mentioned, Jeyodin's got a channel. Jay, what's the name of your channel?
Jeyodin.
Okay, so you can go to Jeyodin, Jeyodin, and then likewise, Andea Voros has a channel, which is Saigami Project. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can definitely get great content. Both of them really do some really cool things on their channel, but Whyt's channel is so big, and the stuff that he does is really impressive if you are interested in getting a more finite view of, or really in-depth view of creating content, certainly at the level that he does. But we were really excited to have Whyt helping us try to craft this channel and make it far bigger. The biggest thing for us right now is trying to continue to grow the opportunities that we can with the channel. So we are really appreciative of that. And so tonight, again, this pitch session tonight, we're going to talk about a couple of titles that were submitted to us, a couple of pitches that were submitted to us. Now, let me get a couple things out the way. This is not a scenario where we're looking to get people to promote, we're looking like going to be publishing them or anything like that. That's not what this is. This is certainly a scenario where we are far more interested in trying to produce content and just literally helping people, have people going to submit stuff to us, and we're just going to try to see if we can help them with some feedback. That's it. That being said, what we do hope is that if nothing else, these creators will get some exposure and that you guys will have a chance to check them out. So again, one of the things with Whyt helping us that I hope that we can do is go back in, because I created a couple of cards, which you'll see tonight, just like we have these visuals you're looking at now. We will go through some visuals of the creators that we're going to be talking about tonight. But ultimately, some of the information in terms of how to find them possibly on Instagram, we can maybe go back in and include those little bugs on there so you can find it and then look for them directly. But we do hope that these guys will get a little bit of a push from tonight, because we think everyone who submitted stuff into us was great. But obviously, we're only going to profile a handful of them tonight just to keep the time brisk. If you guys have questions, we will get to those a little bit later tonight. As always, please try and be respectful to everyone in the live chat. We are monitoring it. And likewise, we hope to have a chance to just, get stuff going and produce some really fun stuff. It's going to be funny. It's going to be in depth, and we're going to try to have some good times with it, and also drop some knowledge as best that we can on the things that we've done before. So with that being said, we're also going to talk about our Kickstarter, because that is one of the big things of this. So why don't we first start out with how we did this? So what happened was that we asked, if you guys follow us on our social media, we did ask for people to submit content to us. So we asked people to submit pitches to us. The pitches were indeed just meant to be, trying to think of the best way to put this. It was just meant to be pitches about a concept. Obviously, if you had more involved details that we could see, then we could evaluate it better. If you didn't, then we may or may not cover it tonight. And some of the people who we didn't cover tonight, that's exactly what happened. We asked for material to be original. So we had some people who submitted content that was not original, and therefore we pushed it aside. We had people who have submitted stuff to us over and over again. And unfortunately, particularly if we've profiled you once or twice before, we just didn't see the need in trying to profile you yet again. So there were a handful of folks who fell in that boat as well. So when it was all said and done, there were only a handful of creators that we actually really were able to get into their work and, and kind of explore it. And so we're going to be talking about it tonight. It will be live, so that some of the comments you will hear is what it should be, which are people approaching the material for the first time. So so that should be pretty cool, and you'll have a chance to hear exactly what it's like to pitch your content to a publisher or to a licensor or to someone who you're hoping will take your stuff and do something with it, maybe fund you, publish you, turn it into a video game, what have you. This is what the process is like. Let me jump into a few other things here real quickly. For example, let me talk of pitch session, and this keeps it really, really simple. When you are pitching material, one of the things that we always ask people to do, the first thing we expect people to do, is to keep it simple. So we have an idea about the word pitch, and this derives from the actual origination of the word pitch. And that is basically, if you're on an elevator and you got a seconds between getting on the floor and you're sitting next to an executive, next to a movie producer, next to an actor, and you're trying to sell them, you got a few seconds between floor 1 and floor 3 or floor 8 or whatever. You have a few seconds, a few minutes to get into their attention and then sell them on your idea. And what you hope, you can't give them the whole thing. You just hope you can give them enough that will make them want to continue following it, or maybe want to hear more. That is where the term pitch comes from. The original phrase is elevator pitch. And what that means is 4 to 6 words. Keep it simple. It doesn't mean the 4 to 6 words have to be perfect. So if you think that you've got a title that is like 9 different series, well, don't make it like 9 different series. Just make the pitch on the most exciting 2 series you can think of. It's Batman meets Yu-Gi-Oh! It's Transformers meets Jurassic Park. Keep it simple, and that way, if that person is interested, they will choose to go further with it. If they're not, they won't. It's really quite simple. But the first part is always keep it simple. Number 2 is have an online portfolio. There are quite a few people tonight who did not make it on tonight's pitch session because they do not have an online portfolio, or they didn't have enough material we could look at. When I say online portfolio, I mean Instagram or a Facebook fan page or a Tumblr or your own website. Obviously, you can throw DeviantArt in there and some other art-centric things, but the two things I would give in regards to this second rule is, number one, make sure it's a website that is reputable. No one's going to go to some website that's, you know, got viruses all over it and that no one actually goes to, no one's ever heard of it. So, you know, if you're on Instagram, make sure you're on Instagram, make sure you're on Facebook. You should be on those platforms because every other artist is on those platforms. Number two is make sure that if you have a page that you want people to check out your artwork on for things like pitch session, that it actually has your artwork on it. There are so many times that we go to some of these pages and they're full of pictures of the person or the person's friends or the person's dog. And I love dogs, so I get it. I totally understand it. But that's not going to help you if you're trying to pitch yourself to a creator or a publisher or an agent. Next up, we have rule number 3, and that really is submit your best. This one should go without saying, but at the end of the day, what we always find, and we saw this again as well tonight, is that people will rush. And if you're rushing, then you're not getting the best out of what you can. Better to, you know, get it in when you feel comfortable, and get it in when you've had enough time to look at it, to go back in and make sure everything looks good, to make sure that you've got everything that can show off the quality of your work. If that means pages that are sequential, if that means pages that have backgrounds, if that means going back in and fixing something where you know it's like a bad arm or a bad leg or a bad hand, then fix it. Most of our audience, most of the people that we talk to about pitching material are in their teenage years. And the fact of the matter is that very few of you are going to be working in your teenage years for a professional comic company. So with that being said, then you have time. There's nothing worse as well than seeing a kid trying to tell me they want to produce a R-rated or X-rated story. You have time to actually learn what that stuff is for yourself so that you can talk about it in a story rather than imagining what it's like because you're seeing it on Cinemax After Dark, if that's even a thing, or Pornhub or whatever it is you're checking out. Try to grow as a person, try to grow as a creator. And that means take your time. You're not in any hurry. You only get better with age. Trust me on this. And last but not least is rule number 4, be diverse. And does that mean you have to have a Black character or Asian character or Latino character, what have you? No. What it means is that you should always try to submit things that actually are different and unique. If we go to your portfolio and all we see are pictures of Dragon Ball, and then you pitch us on the fact that you want to do a romance story, and we have not seen you do anything that even looks remotely like you can tell a story, much less a romance story. We just can see you drawing spiky-haired guys who can punch each other through buildings. It's going to be hard for us to see that you have that ability. Just like if you were trying to be an actor, you want to be an action star, but you're constantly, the only thing people have to look at you with is just things like having, characters that look like, just comedy roles and so forth, then that's just not going to work. You have to be diverse. And so again, try to include as much stuff as possible that reflects a diverse amount of material. That really helps. That takes us all the way through to giving you the sort of opportunities that you want so you can really get there and get the fan base that you're looking for. So that is pretty much it in terms of rules. Andrea, Jay, Whyt, you guys have anything to add to that?
Nope, not really.
Okay, anybody?
I think you hit most of the points of getting straight to the point. But I also add making sure that what you're turning in, like it's, even if it's just words and it's like a synopsis, it's written properly. There are moments where you are getting your audience's attention, and like moments where moments you're getting your attention and getting them intrigued. There were some that I read that it just felt like it was just going on, and it didn't need to be that long. So just know that your audience has a short attention span, and it's a pitch.
That's right.
It's the pitch to let them ask for more before you divulge.
That's right. That's it. I mean, you know, again, there's no point. You've got to provide stuff, folks. If you want to, one of the things I've always told the creators is that there's a difference between being an artist and between being a commercial artist, right? A lot of times you'll talk to artists, they're like, well, I don't care if anyone wants to buy my stuff. This is coming from my heart. And that's great. That's fantastic. And there's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that at the end of the day, you want to pay some bills. And that means that you better hope that your art that you're telling from your heart connects with an audience. So the short end of this is that you're always selling. There's nothing bad about selling. You're always selling. As Whyt just indicated, you want to have the person that you're trying to sell your idea to publish it, to finance it, to draw it, to whatever it is that you need someone to help you with to make your idea reality. You're selling that person. They're not doing it because they saw your artwork once and go, oh, it's amazing, let's do something with it. They're doing it because you're selling them on it. And that's what a pitch is. It's trying to sell, give them enough information that makes them excited to want to see more. Same thing with the fan base. You're wanting to give the fan base a little bit of stuff that gets them excited enough to want to come back for more. And so you're constantly selling. So there's nothing wrong with being an artiste. But at the end of the day, all of us are in the business of having to finance our art. And that means that you ultimately want to build a fan base that will pay for it. And that means that you ultimately are selling, to some degree, the work that you do. So, all right, with that being said, then let's jump into it. We're going to get started. And I think what we're going to do here now, Whyt, Andrea, Jay, you guys have the list that I sent earlier, correct? Because I'm going to basically call the name of the series, and then you guys can then go to that particular part of the document.
Sweet.
Okay, so with that being said, then let's go to the first series. It is called Jabroni, and this is one that Whyt had recommended, and this is illustrated by created by Angel Pedranza, sorry, and his pitch is My Hero Academia meets WWE. So now, pardon me, I'm gonna sneeze. I apologize. All right. So Jay, why don't you read the description that he gives of the series, like the full description part of it, and then Whyt, I'd like you to tell me what you thought really caught you with this. Do you see that document, Jay?
Yeah, I see it. I'm looking at it. I'm just trying to find. Do you know what number it was? I'm trying to look for the. You said it's Jabroni, right?
It's Jabroni, Angel Pedranza. And if you're not seeing it, I can.
It's number 22. Number 22. Yeah, and it might be Angel Pedraza, maybe. Just in case. We wrong. Yeah, we apologize if we messed that up.
So you want me to just read the synopsis? What's it about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Yosef is a Jewish Mexican teen adopted by a black couple as a baby. Now he wants to join the World Slam and become a great wrestler like his childhood hero Curtis King. Only problem is wrestlers are like hunters, hunter, and use charisma, neon chi, or nin chi. Sorry about that. And in order to win matches, and Yosef is a novice, only learning charisma control from YouTube. It's pretty awesome, actually. We will follow Yosef as he gains his pro license, befriends wrestlers, deals with bloggers, and tries desperately to move up the online ranking to become a crowd favorite, just like his hero Curtis King.
All right. Okay, so Whyt, what did you think of this? What was your kind of read on this?
I think overall this was a very good pitch, and this was a good pitch. Mm-hmm. One of the things when you're pitching is knowing your audience, and I think that this knows its audience, and it might not be you guys, but as somebody who watches wrestling, and like not as much as I used to, but I'm still big on it. Like I know almost all the major things that are going on even today, and there is a lot going on. So for someone like me who's also into this type of media and into wrestling, I know a lot about WWE as well. I think I fall somewhere in the audience, and so reading it, I understood it. And the pitch, the one sentence pitch that's joining two things together, my hero and WWE. The my hero part is basically Yusuf being part of some kind of wrestling school and getting up the ranks and things like that. It's a very shonen style, shonen approach to storytelling. And the WWE part is the wrestling. So it's almost like My Hero, except you take away all the quirk stuff and the superhero stuff, and you replace it with wrestlers. And they're not saving anybody. It's it's basically a sport. So it's basically a sports story with some supernatural stuff sprinkled in there. It's basically a theater sports story with supernatural stuff sprinkled in there, because wrestling itself is scripted. Professional wrestling is scripted. It would have been different if he was going for like an Olympic, the kind of wrestling you see in Olympics, amateur wrestling. But what he's going for here is kind of like scripted wrestling anyway, that you can honestly make a series without the supernatural stuff. But the supernatural aspect is, I think, what partly makes this interesting. So I just reading it, I understood exactly what he was going for. One of my things with the pitch that I think could be improved, though, is that the way it's presented in very similar to My Hero. You can see like the Curtis King character here, which is funny. I know like a music producer called Curtis King or something like that, so that's weird. But the Curtis King character here is basically like an All Might character, and like it's very like it's pretty obvious, right? And I feel like on one hand, maybe you can pull that off, but I think at the same time there is room to be even more different, right? Even if you switch that up, it will still have that My Hero Academia feel of this guy who's learning things in a school and then graduating and like going up the ranks and within the whole wrestling corporation, right? But you can do things that are even more different. So in wrestling, you have your good guys, you have your bad guys, but it's all scripted. And there's a way you can play around with this to where maybe Yusuf wants to be like the greatest bad guy, and I think that would be like a nice twist to wrestling, because it's not like you're doing evil things. You're just like a bad guy type of wrestler that will cheat to do anything he wants, like that will cheat to win matches. And here he has the goal of being basically a crowd pleaser, but maybe you could do something different. Where my point is, he can explore other ideas, and here everything is a little too straightforward. Also, with the way things are written, Yusuf is a Jewish Mexican teen adopted. Like all of that stuff doesn't necessarily need to be in the synopsis. It's something that it would be nice to be revealed to us within the work itself. But you don't need to write all that stuff here to like hammer it on the head that he's not he's Jewish, he's Mexican. You know what I mean? It's not necessary. It's not necessary for the synopsis here. And then he mentioned other series here, like Hunter x Hunter. I understand why he did that, but like for like official stuff, you probably want to stay away from that and maybe just keep that with the whole My Hero meets like that part, and don't let it go beyond that. Like if this was like an official synopsis, you want to have that in there. But apart from that, he talks about charisma being like their nen, their chi, their chakra, their ryasu, whatever. Like that's like the energy power source in the series. As a wrestling fan, I completely get it. Like I 100% understand that. So he's really connecting to an audience. He knows his audience. So those are one of the things that I really, really liked about it. And then, him learning charisma control on YouTube, like those are terms that I would, as a wrestling fan, I understand what he's saying immediately. Dealing with bloggers, all this stuff, I get it, right? I just wish. I
didn't know any of that, so that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wish it wasn't as linear and parallel to My Hero. And maybe the lead character is someone who despised this Curtis King guy, and rather than wanting to be a crowd pleaser. Maybe he wanted to be the champion, and he wanted to be the champion forever, and he wanted to be this crowd pleaser. But maybe in wrestling, sometimes the bad guys get praised. So it could even be something where he's not trying to please the crowd. He's trying to be this bad guy, but he struggles because he's so good at it that the crowd actually likes him. And this happens in real life. That's what's happening today. And like, it's just those tiny nuances that will really set it apart from a My Hero. Because even though you change the costume and you make everything wrestling oriented, with wrestling terms and wrestling references, you can still do more to stand out. So I like the idea of doing something different, as in wrestling. I like the use of the terms like charisma and things like that. And I know all of this because I have like some wrestling ideas for stories as well, kind of similar to this, but obviously not like My Hero meets WWE. Even the title Jabroni is it's probably one of the best titles here. As a wrestling fan, that is a great title.
Yeah, I very much agree. Yeah, Jay, go ahead. Or Andrea, anybody?
His art's also pretty good. Pretty, not bad.
I thought it was interesting. Unfortunately, I was kind of rushing to read a lot of these because I was at work before all of this. But reading it right now and also hearing Whyt's analysis of it, I liked it a lot. I mean, he kind of hit all the points that need to be hit right here, so I don't really need to go into all that. But I really liked the fact that it was he referenced YouTube and kind of learning how to trying to learn how to use his powers and stuff. I thought that was pretty funny, and I thought it was just interesting way of showing how like you can still use real life in a fantasy story and yet still have it feel real, but like obviously this is like a different universe. Like I don't know, I just thought that was a pretty cool spin on it. And I agree with Whyt as well. I think that his art is pretty cool. I would love to see more pages. Honestly, I think as time goes by, I mean, it'll just get better and better. But I mean, as it is now, I think it's pretty cool as long as it's conveying what needs to be conveyed. I think that this is pretty cool. But I haven't seen more of it. I have to look at more of the stuff. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
All right, Andrea.
I don't know much about WWE, and for me, Jabroni sounds like Italian food, but I really like the concept because I'm a sucker for sports manga, and I really like these kind of underdog stories, and the fact that he's trying to learn the sport and the charisma things from YouTube is super relatable, because basically that's what everyone is doing nowadays, trying to learn everything from YouTube and online media. So yeah, I see a big potential in this concept.
Okay, yeah. So I like this. I liked it. Now I'll say a couple of things. So first of all, I do not know wrestling the way Whyt does. I am completely. I was a kid. I'm old. I grew up in the '80s when wrestling, or late '70s, early '80s when wrestling kind of had its unique era. You had guys like Ric Flair originally and stuff like that. So look, I think wrestling as a concept is great. I can totally see it. I get it. But I will say that there are two things that bother me with this. One is that we're going to see the My Hero Academia a lot tonight. We are going to see My Hero Academia a lot tonight, and that is because My Hero Academia is the new Naruto, right? I mean, it's like everybody's using it. It's what everyone wants to do. So when it comes to anime, the first thing that they're going to use to cite is going to be that. I think the second thing is that we had a title that we were working on with a young man like 2 years ago. Does anybody remember El Toro? Did you guys remember El Toro? Yeah, and that was great. That was fantastic. Like that artist was amazing and very like low level Murata-san, but he was pretty awesome. And so yeah, I think that like that idea I really kind of dug because I kind of got into some of the mysticism. Like this one, I don't quite, and I take Whyt's word for it about the charisma and stuff. I don't know what that means. I saw the Hunter x Hunter reference, so I thought, okay, well, Hunter x Hunter, obviously, but I didn't quite. It didn't quite connect to me, the series that we had been pitched and were working with before was El Toro. The idea was that the masks, when they put on the mask, it has certain powers and stuff, certain attributes, a la the what's the Mexican wrestling thing called? I forgot the name of it. Luchador. Thank you. And so I thought that was cool. He was also Mexican, so I thought that was cool because obviously Luchador Mexican. And so I don't know. I've got a soft spot for that one. And so when I saw this, I was intrigued. I like this image of art that I posted here for us. I'm very intrigued by it. Hearing Whyt talk about it made me more interested in it because I don't know enough about wrestling. But in terms of like looking at it in comparison to El Toro, I still have a soft spot for El Toro. So this like strikes me. El Toro to me was very direct. It was very clear what it was. The mythology made much more sense. This one, I think some of the terms work, but at the same time, as Whyt indicated and other people have said, we're going to see this My Hero thing a lot. We saw this, a couple of years ago when we started Saturday M. Whyt knows we see a lot of Dragon Ball concepts that were loosely Dragon Ball. Then Naruto became the meme, and so everyone's trying to become the greatest, so on and so forth. Something tells me we're going to see My Hero Academia a lot. It's going to be whether it's school-based or whatever. There's going to be a whole. In fact, there's another pitch tonight we're going to talk about that has My Hero Academia as a core element of it. So I don't know. I'm intrigued by this. I certainly would love to see more art-wise. I like this image that we see posted, but obviously, as someone said before, I'd like to see more. But this is what I'm cautiously interested in. I can't say like this is something I think is extraordinary. Like I said, I think a lot of the concepts, as Whyt indicated, weren't great, but at the same time, they were interesting. They appeared to be tied into wrestling, and I certainly would be open to seeing more of it. So that's that. Any other comments before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, I remember El Toro. It was the artwork was pretty good too. I remember. I'll just say, like you said, El Toro was more direct, and you didn't absolutely have to be. And so maybe that's something this will also need to think of. You didn't absolutely have to be like a super fan to get it. And this one, I think, is more directed. Like, I don't think you wouldn't have to be a wrestling fan to get this as well. But as a wrestling fan, I caught a couple things.
And let me say again, because the other day, in our internal chat that we have for Saturday M creators, we were talking about fall anime season. I talked about what's the sumo wrestling one called? Something.
Yomaru Sumo.
Right. Yeah. So that one, like they really get into that concept of sumo wrestling. This is one of the things to me that manga does really well. Right. Is they don't just say, hey, we're going to talk about basketball. They actually get into the mechanics of it because, as a society, America is really big in some of these sports. Other countries are big into the sports, but they, it's not as professional and as big financially in terms of revenue and stuff as it is in America, or soccer is, particularly in Europe. So from that standpoint, Whyt, if he were doing things and this were being presented in a way that would educate me to wrestling, I could totally see it. I could totally get down with that, right? But that comes down to the delivery and how he does it and making it to where it escalates in a way that's both realistic but also exciting and at the same time educational. And that's a really hard thing to pull off. But I can see it. I can see it if he captured what you were talking about. I can see it being something cool. Okay, next up is Solstice. This is by Kayla Gilliam. This is essentially Avatar meets DBZ. So our first DBZ reference of the night. What we should do, what I need to start doing is whenever we have a title like that and it's bringing up a title, I should say let's drink. So I should do that from here on out. But I am tell you what, I'm gonna read this one that way because we need to speed it along a little bit. We got a lot of stuff to kind of get through tonight, so I'll read this so that we can kind of get things moving quickly here. Give me a second here. Let me pull it up. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, so now this is Solstice, and Andrea, I'm going to go to you after I do this. The plot here, folks, is the main character is the missing daughter of the sun goddess Bima. She awakens after being frozen by her ex-lover for 2,000 years, only to find her kingdom decimated and the earth under control of the tyrannical Moon Kingdom. With her halfling sidekick Seiyun, She fights her way through the Moon Kingdom's regional generals, all while regaining her memories and eventually facing off against her ex-lover and daughter of the moon goddess, Lamb, all to find out what truly led to the Sun Kingdom's demise and how to bring it back. So that is the general concept behind Solstice. Andrea, what did you make of this?
Well, the concept and the story description only is a bit too much like the last Airbender story. Like all of the elements are pretty much from that. But I've seen the potential in this story because the opening scene was strong for me. Like it had the premise of more emotional depth to the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the artwork is a bit rough, but it feels like it's an established style. And there were some panels that I really liked. I think some of the panels and some of the compositions were really, really good. So yeah, it was only a few pages that I could read, but it was kind of a pleasant surprise because I was thinking it would be more like Last Airbender because the story says so, but the beginning was a bit different. So I kind of was interested of reading more of this.
Yeah. Okay. So Jay, what did you make of this? You're hearing this for the first time, Jay?
Yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing of it.
You make of it?
It was okay. I mean, like I like the pitch. Avatar: The Last Airbender meets TC. I think that has a lot of potential, and if done right, it could be pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Come back to me. Let me let me think a little bit more about it. I'll give you more of an analysis.
Okay, folks. Damn is all I have to say on that one. Whyt, what did you make of Solstice when you heard it?
The name is kind of interesting. It's always a little weird when the pitches that you're trying to combine. I think DBZ is very different from Avatar, but like at first glance, they are kind of similar, but I think at their core, if you know the series, you can clearly see what parts of the series is kind of similar to Airbender. The DBZ part I didn't get as well, so maybe that has to do with how the characters interact with each other or fight, or maybe that's what they're taking some shonen elements from that. But as I like how I think the synopsis was written in a pretty good way, pretty decent way, pretty straightforward. Like I have a good understanding of what's going on, so that's always good, and it's not too long, but I don't know. It's one of those things where just reading it, I don't know how interested I am. I'll need to see like much more, but sometimes maybe you need your pitch to have. That's what I was talking about, right? Have some section that is that's going to grab everyone's attention. And this is, I think it's a good pitch, but it just doesn't have that one line in there that's like, oh, I didn't expect that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's not that I expected everything I saw, but it was, I've seen it or some iteration with a slight change somewhere else, And again, that's not a bad thing. I'm sure it all comes down to execution. And so maybe the content itself will execute in such a unique way. But just from the pitch itself, I think it's just missing that one line. And this is something, it's hard. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to pull off. But so just looking at it, I think it's a good pitch. It could use a tweak here and there, but I think overall is a good pitch, and I like the title.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think probably so I like what I read, right? What I just read, I thought was interesting. I mean, I don't know the goddess Bhima. I don't know if that's a particular ethnicity or culture. I mean, it doesn't sound obviously Judeo-Christian. So I mean, it could be interesting from that front. Look, I mean, it's interesting. That's what I can say about it right now. It's kind of interesting. Ultimately, what Whyt's saying, I totally agree with in the sense that, but look, I mean, as a publisher, I've seen this all the time. I mean, ultimately, it always comes down to execution, right? Because eventually you hear every idea you could possibly hear, right? They're all the same ultimately. They're all derivatives. I mean, when it comes to superheroes, they're all either Superman or they're all either Batman, right? I mean, it is what it is. But when you look at this right here, this sounds, it's a revenge fantasy. She's coming back, something's wrong. She's got a, she's been taken out of commission. Now she's back and she wants to make things right. I mean, we've got at least 3 series like that at Saturday M. But in this case, it's a female, and I think what Whyt's getting at is that folks, when you're pitching something, and I think this series does suffer from that, is that there's not enough here that tells you what makes this unique. We know it's a revenge fantasy. We get that, right? It's in the first line. But the question is, okay, so then what is unique about this character? What makes her unique? Therefore, and this is a scenario where diversity can make a big difference, right? If I said to you that, it's about a young boy whose parents get killed. He decides to take revenge, except, he's a poor black kid. Well, that changes the paradigm, right? That's not Batman. It's Batman that now has an entirely different context to it. We live in a world where African Americans, unfortunately, can get assassinated by police without having really done much of anything. Add to it the fact that someone's being a vigilante and dressing up at night. That's not the same sort of deal. Bruce Wayne can go in and out of high society. If this is someone who's poor, they can't, right? So it changes the conversation dramatically, and that's a twist that actually works. In this context, this is a revenge fantasy. I assume by her using Avatar, she's doing that to say, look, I don't know the character's powers, but it's kind of like Avatar, right? Because there's nothing here that tells us what makes this character unique, what she does, and why this would be an interesting concept. We know she's female, and we know she's trying to get revenge. Versus an ex-lover and so on. So there's some, or the ex-lover of this goddess thing. So it's a little weird. And the artwork is interesting. This is the best image I saw. I like a little bit. I think it's kind of cool. But again, I don't know more than that. So having some more detail, selling us on why this is unique, I think is really important. I think all the pitches really could use this. Jay, we're going to come back to you before we move on. What did you make?
Okay, after having read it a little more, I agree. It's pretty interesting. It feels more like a movie, like that I've seen before, exactly like how you guys said. It kind of does have like a generic kind of feel to it, but if it had that X factor, that thing that made it probably, maybe instead of like her boyfriend or ex-lover, maybe it's a girl, or maybe like it's maybe she had, I don't know, maybe some other things going on that stood out to a point that like was just not just a revenge story. I mean, I don't know how to actually say this, but it didn't stand out. I mean, I liked the fact that like I said, Dragon Ball Z and Avatar, if done right, could be amazing. I think that would be really cool. But with that one image I saw, I think it had a lot of potential as well, because I can see that her hair was either catching on fire or like being smoke or something. I thought that was pretty interesting. So I don't know. I mean, I would probably check it out. Definitely to see first couple of chapters and stuff. But I mean, unless it had that X factor to really make it stand out, I don't think I would stick around.
Okay. All right. So our next title is Psychics by Peter Kalingas. His pitch here is Mob Psycho 100 meets Tokyo Ghoul. The story follows a high school student named Akio. One day he discovers that he has psychic powers through a violent event. Stumbling upon a group of psychics, he learns all about his newfound abilities. Akio has to fight against threats such as Akio has to fight against threats such as demons, shapeless creatures that crave for material body, and find psychics as their primary vessel, and against a secret governmental organization that tries to suppress psychics. Akio's end goal is uncovering his parents' past and defeating the enemies together with his friends. This is Psychics, pretty generic title. Let's start with you, Andrea, first. I don't know if we started with you last time, but let's start with you, Andrea. Let's start with you, Jay, because we started with Andrea last time. What did you make of this, Jay?
I was very interested in the pitch itself, the Mob Psycho 100 meets Tokyo Ghoul, which is why I chose this originally. And then as I was reading it, it confused me a little bit. But I mean, I like filled in the blanks myself, which made me think that it was a pretty interesting story. But I mean, yet again, still kind of generic. The fact that I mean, I'm not really sure what his parents did or, you know, why they're like so important from like this one pitch. Like, you know, I think it would be really interesting if, you know, he reworded this pitch a little bit differently and maybe like explain that maybe his parents are, I don't know, a part of the evil government that's trying to like make these demons and, you know, have all of these psychics like take over and all this stuff. I'm not really sure. If he explained a little bit more, maybe it would be a little bit more interesting. But I don't know. It stood out because of the pitch. I'm a huge fan of my Mob Psycho 100. So yeah.
Okay, so Whyt, what did you make of this, Whyt?
I think that again, like even with the previous one, like some of these pitches is one of those things where we're critiquing the pitch itself, right?
That's right.
The actual work might be better than
That's right.
The pitch itself. It's just that's where you see what makes it special. But just going off of this pitch, even like Psychics, when Mob Psycho meets Tokyo Ghoul, it's one of those things where the title definitely needs work. Maybe the title would have worked in the 80s or something, but I think the title definitely needs work. To I
would like to think the 80s would have higher standards than just
yeah.
now. What's the name of your series? What's the 1980s, man? Call it Tree.
Okay, 60s.
Yeah, but I hear you, though. I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
You get what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, the title definitely needs work. Like even the titles he's referencing, Mob Psycho, like there's something that just grabs you in there. Tokyo Ghoul, there's something, right? With Psychics is definitely missing like is missing stuff. So that part definitely needs work. It's the weakest part out of this. But I mean the story itself, it's not, again, maybe it could have been written in a more interesting way. But in my head, I view it as, okay, maybe he's taking the superpower, the supernatural elements of Mob Psycho, and then basically taking Tokyo Ghoul and replacing their powers with the Mob Psycho stuff. So imagine something like Tokyo Ghoul, but instead of all that crazy blood vampire type stuff, we have, you know, psychos or psychics in that Mob Psycho aesthetic. And you know, that could be cool. And you know, you do different things with a whole syndicate and like organizations trying to stop you and blah blah blah, and everybody has like a clique. Think of like the Matrix, where you have these group of guys being hunted by the agents. You can do some really cool stuff, right? So most of these have potential, but just judging off of the pitch itself, it's missing things. Like it's missing something to just make it more interesting. And I think it could have been presented and written in a slightly more interesting way. So overall, it could use a lot more work.
Yeah, Andrea, what did you make of this?
I have to agree with the guys. I would need to read more of this because I know Peter's art and I know that he's really good. But the pitch itself is generic. Like it feels like something I read a bunch of times before, so nothing really stands out based on the description only.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah. Look. Let me. I meant to run the image here. You know, the artist has some talent. So there's some, so there's some moodiness that I can kind of get with this because the artist does indeed have some talent. I have not read Tokyo Ghoul, so let me ask a couple of questions. For those of you who've read Tokyo Ghoul, and I'm talking my team here, does this not sound like Tokyo Ghoul? Am I missing something? Is this not the plot of Tokyo Ghoul?
Yeah, so it's very, that's why I said like it seems like he just took something that's really similar to Tokyo. I don't think it's not the exact plot.
Not exact, but the secret government and
it's pretty close.
Right.
And rather than all that vampire stuff, you have like,
right.
Mob Psycho type stuff going on.
Right.
And then, even the art style, like I said, the art style is real. I think there's something here, but there are also elements of this art style that are very reminiscent of Tokyo Ghoul as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. So when I saw it, so look, it made me think of Tokyo Ghoul, and that's always That's not a great thing. That's not to say this that Mr. Klingus doesn't have the capabilities of doing something really dramatic with the work, and very possibly he does. I can say that for each one of the work you'll see tonight, where I've got an image, and that should be all the works that we've chosen tonight. These were all the best images that they had that reflected the work. So that's not so this may be the best thing that they have, period, art wise, which is not always a good judge of what their capabilities are. But in terms of this, look, it struck me kind of like the last one we talked about, the one we just talked about a few minutes ago, called Solstice. It's a pretty direct plot. We've seen the story before. It's obviously Mob Psycho 100 is more of a comedy and it's played loosely, and that's what I love about Mob Psycho 100. I've never personally been a fan of Tokyo Ghoul, although I know it's a big hit. But we've seen this story before. I mean, I'm an American, so there are storylines of X-Men that are similar to this. So, I mean, it is what it is. But I think the thing that did disappoint me, obviously, yes, the name. I wish the name was a bit more imaginative. And then likewise, the fact that again, we're talking Peter Klingus, and he's who doesn't sound like he's Asian, and he's doing a character who's Asian. This does not help separate the idea that he is copying Mob Psycho 100 and Tokyo Ghoul. And this is, you guys, if you've listened to my talks before, you know how I feel about this. We've kicked out a few people in the chat tonight who are obviously Comicsgate racist, assholes. But this is, I feel very strongly about this, about representation. I just think it's concerning to me that in a world that is so big and so gorgeous and so many different people on this chat tonight, on my side of this conversation, we have a Nigerian, we have someone from New Orleans, we have myself, who's a black kid from North Carolina, and we have a young woman from Hungary. Diversity right on this chat, and not to mention all the wonderful people who are listening to us, who get what we're trying to do. It's just extraordinary to me that we get into these kind of setups where we play into the hands of not actually adding new ideas to the conversation. And so I look at this and I'm like, again, I don't know Peter Klingus' ethnicity, but you're giving us two titles that you're trying to do: Mob Psycho 100 about a Japanese kid, Tokyo Ghoul about a Japanese kid, and then you're giving us a character who sounds like a Japanese kid. And we're already saying his name could have been Bob, and the story sounded similar. But once you then add in the fact that, hey, it's a Japanese kid too, it just seems way too much similar. It's like, having a character, and I saw this a lot when I was a kid, he fights crime and he's got claws, and the character looks just like Wolverine, but his name's not Wolverine. It's Slicer, or it's Deathstrike, or what have you. And so I just, I will say that I think this is one area where I wish that, when you've got a chance like this with a pitch, be imaginative. As I said in my rules, be diverse. Try to add something new to the conversation. Just thinking that, well, it's going to be this, but I'm going to tweak it just this way, it'll be different. It comes across that way. And that's not saying that that's what Peter Klingus is doing, but that does, when you're looking at this and it already feels similar to the material that you're referencing, it doesn't help it seem any more original. Like I said, he could have said this was a girl. He could have said this was a kid from Taiwan, the slums of Iraq. He could have come from, from Brazil in a favela, and maybe it'd be different. Maybe the story would have a different context, a different setup, but this literally sounds just like the two plots we're talking about, and that makes it less interesting. Because if you've already got material that's really strong and it's best-selling material in the case of Tokyo Ghoul, and really popular in terms of anime, in terms of Mob Psycho 100, it's really hard to see how anybody, including us, improves on that. So if that's your pitch, is like, well, it's like these really popular series, just my way. Well, then you need to be someone famous for that to actually make sense. And for someone to say, oh yeah, I want to see this person's view of that type of material, but done in a different way, because I know this guy is really unique and he's done really cool work in the past. So maybe his take on this material will be really different. We don't know who this creator is. I'm sure he's obviously talented, as we can see with this image. But I can say that what he's doing sounds exactly like what already exists, and what already exists is pretty damn popular and good. If I were a publisher, I wouldn't take a bet on that. So that's something to consider for that. Any other comments before we move on? I want to hit one more. We're going to take a break, talk about the Kickstarter, and then we'll come back and finish up with the last three titles. Anyone else have any comments on this? Okay. Then we're gonna chat about Daisy Push. This will be our final chat before our break. And this is by Ricardo Antonio. And this was kind of long. I'm gonna speed through this one pretty quickly. The pitch is Coco meets Naruto. Great movie in Coco. Coco meets Naruto. This is Josui, who's 20 years old and healthy, wakes up dead. It at first seemed like a normal Tuesday until his brother couldn't see him wave hands in his face. After following his sibling around for a day, he gives up, trying to get his attention. After coming home from school, Josue lays on his bed, feeling defeated. That is until his Alabaji appears. Enter Cholo, a canine companion who seems unenthusiastic about his role, which is a spiritual guide to the Otro Lugar. Cholo explains that Otro Lugar is a world coexisting with the living, though unaffected by it. At first, Josue seems shocked, but he quickly accepts the fact that he is now deceased. In response, he exclaims that he wants to reach his brother and find out how he died. Fortunately for him, there indeed is a way to contact his brother. If by sunrise, Josue can find the petal, an artifact capable of bridging the two worlds, he can speak to his brother. The downside, the petal is guarded by 12 Reapers, each with unique abilities. So I'm going to stop it there. They go really into detail with it and stuff, but I think that's a really good setup for the general idea of this plot. Andrea, let's start with you. What did you make of this?
There was a lot of terminology I wasn't that familiar with, but yeah, it did remind me of Coco.
Right. It's definitely. I'll say this, as I just said in my last conference, what I just said about the last title, Psychics, and about the creator trying to do something different there, or needing to do something different there. This is different. This is cultural. There's stuff here that I don't know what the words mean, but they clearly mean something. So this is different, and this kind of makes me excited. A la Coco, which is was a very familiar story in the Pixar movie Coco, although it's fully steeped in Mexican culture and heritage. But so what did you make of the idea though of this character? He's dead. He's trying to hook up with his brother. I don't know if he's trying to say something before he passes on to the next world, but the only way he can kind of cross over from the world of the dead is to find this artifact. What do you make of that general idea?
I think that's a simple and straightforward idea that's easy to understand, even from little information.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's an interesting page because I know where the story is going, I know what the goal is, and yeah, we definitely can tell that it's full of cultural elements, so it probably will be something we haven't seen before.
Correct. Yeah, I would agree. Whyt, what did you make of Daisy Push?
I like the name. Apart from liking the name, the simple pitch is pretty nice. I haven't seen Coco, so there's probably some things here that I'm not gonna get. So, but either way, I think maybe because we asked for like a very thorough idea of what exactly happens in the series, he felt the need to go extra. But generally, with a pitch where you give just a simple synopsis, like a paragraph or two in some cases, and kind of that'll be it. You want to make sure everything is easy to understand, and you're not going into too much detail. And I just feel like maybe there was like a misunderstanding there, and that's why he put too much information. But if that's not the case,
sure,
you might want to stay away from like putting in so much information. Like finding a way to, it's almost like writing a quick essay, very short, extremely short essay. You have your intro, body, end, and here I think you're going into too much detail during the pitch, and so that could use some work, and it could be easier to understand. Now, I do like the concepts and themes that are being explored here. I'm with you, Fred. I think it could be it could be really interesting, and even the illustration looks really interesting as well.
Yes. Let me say again, I chose the best image that I saw, but I mean, as an image by itself, in terms of capturing what he's trying to do with this, I mean, character design wise, pretty cool. Jay, what did you make of this?
I actually liked it a lot. I thought it was pretty cool. I love his character design. I think his hood with the tail on the back is pretty funny. So I think that's probably why I like it a lot. But oh man, and when it comes to the pitch, I agree with Whyt. It was way too long. He didn't really need to explain everything. I did, however, read the rest of it, and everything that I didn't understand, like all the cultural references and stuff, which I would love to find out. Like by reading the story, I think it would be really interesting to actually like learn it all. But just by reading the pitch, after reading everything, I thought it was really awesome how that twist was and all that. I'm not gonna go into it right now, but I thought it was very interesting. I would love to see how this all plays out. I thought the mixture between Coco and Naruto was also a really nice way of pitching it. Obviously, Coco, being able to go into the dead world and trying to, come back into the real world and all of this stuff. That entire theme was really cool. But the reason why I liked it with the Naruto part, I honestly wouldn't probably say Naruto. I would say maybe Bleach because they're talking about Reapers. I guess I can understand what he means in terms of maybe the fight scenes that he's trying to convey and stuff. But I would probably change that to maybe Bleach just to make it a little bit more clear for people that you're trying to pitch it to. But and although I like the name Daisy Push, I don't know why it's called the Daisy Push because the petal isn't a daisy unless it is, in which case why not just call it that daisy? So like I don't know. So I mean, like I said, it's interesting enough for me to want to pick it up. And I think if I saw that character, I would at least look at it, and try to see what it's about. So I don't think it really matters when it comes to the title because it does its job in making me interested in it. But that's what I have to say about this.
Cool. Yeah. I think again, I'll say that and Jay alluded to this. I don't want to spoil it again because we're not trying to ruin any of these creators. As I said about the last one, Psychics. I mean, I don't know Peter Kalingas. I his artwork for that one image looked really good. I mean, I would love to see what he comes up with. So again, those are just we try to keep it real here, Saturday. Some people can accept that, some can't. But in this scenario, I would say that if you did read the rest of the story that was submitted to us for this, it does explain, like as Jay said, more of what I described in the setup. I'm not sure why he didn't sell it more in terms of just giving us kind of the general understanding of the world and kind of get you in. He kind of gave us the story from start to finish. But it is intriguing, particularly the notion about who killed him. So I think that I think it's really interesting. I'm curious about it very much. I think the artwork's got a lot of possibilities to it, although I'll also say that the artwork, can use improvement in a lot of areas. But this was one that I was surprised, and I thought the name was cool because it's a totally, when we talk about names for manga type of series. One of the things that always stands out to me are names that are, Japanese names for their series are very bizarre, right? They always kind of don't quite make sense. There's stuff that's straightforward like Naruto, but Bleach makes no sense. Bleach doesn't have anything to do with it. One Piece is very simple, but there's so many series, that don't quite fit what the series is. It's just kind of those weird Japanese things where you kind of put them together, and that's the concept. So I like this. I like the name Daisy Push. I thought it was kind of a weird name, and it does fit. You can understand ultimately what the idea is, but it's just such a bizarre name. I just thought it was really kind of quite cool. So this is one that I was surprisingly impressed with. I thought this was quite cool, and I would love to see more of this. Okay, so we're going to take a break, folks. It doesn't mean that we're going to stop the show. We're going to stay on the show. We're going to talk about our Kickstarter. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but we have a Kickstarter happening right now. And in Kickstarter, you can see it here. I think I've got it positioned here where you guys can take a look at it. Let me pull it up here. I hope you guys can see it. If not, let's make that happen because we want you guys to see what we're working on, and we're going to talk about it. So we are doing a Kickstarter, and we were really proud of this because it's something that we have wanted to do for some time. But we take our time. We haven't tried to rush it. We want to get it right, put the right materials together and make sure we have the right concept to launch with. So we're doing a Kickstarter. The entire idea of the Kickstarter is that we are launching a brand new, we're doing a brand new idea for a graphic novel line. We do have books already. You can buy Apple Black Volume 1, Apple Black Volume 2. You can buy Saigami Volume 1, Volume 2. But this is a new take on what we currently do, redesign, put in a brand new format with color pages. Not all pages are color, except in the case of some books. But trying to give like the ultimate creator presentation. And we're doing this for one simple reason, folks, because we want to take our brand, which has grown so dramatically in the last 5 years, we want to put it out there alongside of the Vizes and the Kodansha's and the Yin Presses and Tokyo Pops and so on and so forth. And we feel like we can do that. We've got some of the most amazing creators like Whyt Manga and Andea Voros and Jeyodin all here on the chat. And so we're really, really proud of this opportunity. Now, we need your help. We're going to hit our goal, but we want to go past that. And we're going to talk a little bit about what you get when you back us and stuff. But this is really important because our efforts to try to get to where we want to get to puts us in a position where not only can we compete against some of those people, but also gives us an opportunity to open the floodgates for more independent companies like Saturday AM or independent creators like Whyt, Andrea, and Jay to have like yourselves and the people that we're talking about tonight to have a chance to get into your local store, whether that's Barnes and Nobles or it's your local Books A Million or what have you in your local country. So we are super excited about this. Let's take a moment and let's talk to each of the creators about what their book is going to do in this new format. Let's start off with Whyt Manga. Now, Whyt, Apple Black has come out. It's a big success for Saturday AM, big success for you. Apple Black Volume 2 came out. It's doing really, really well. But now we're redoing Apple Black Volume 1 in this new format. Tell everyone what's going to make this particular version of Apple Black, more unique than the first version.
For starters, it's going to have a new chapter in it, and it's not going to be one of those like filler chapters. It's actually something that I feel enhances the series. As you know, like creating stuff up, you kind of just have to start, and you keep getting better as time goes on. So while I think Volume 1 is really good, and I recommend it to anybody, I was thinking of ways, looking back now, if I were to do Apple Black again, how can I enhance the story that's already being told? And I feel like there were things that not necessarily, they weren't missing, but like I could have put more emphasis on them. I could have explained them further. And I think it's like a great insight for viewers, whether you have one or not. So I think it's a necessary chapter that adds to the overall experience of the series, and it gives you a better insight of the world and how it works, and the whole guild institute for the students. There are sorcerers in there. It shows you some other student characters as well and explores them.
Well, your mic, I think you might be like you sound a bit more in a tunnel or something like that.
Oh yeah, so can you hear me better now?
Yeah. So repeat that piece again.
So I said that from scratch.
No, just picking up from what makes the book different, like the stuff you're just talking about. Okay.
Oh yeah, so it has an extra chapter in there that enhances the overall experience of Volume 1. I feel like looking back, there are things that I could do that obviously I think Volume 1 is really good, and I could recommend it to anybody. But this is me looking for a way to enhance the whole experience, being someone who's better. I'm a better artist now versus back then. And this is a way to do that, where it's not a filler chapter. It literally adds to it, and it introduces the guild institute where the sorcerer students are being taught. It touches on that a little more. It touches on the world, the Black Bottom Island, where the characters reside, much more. It touches on other aspects in between and how some of the characters, how they interact with each other. So it does a lot of stuff like that, and then beyond, and some stuff I just want to leave for those who actually go back it. But I definitely recommend it, and it is a necessary chapter, and it will be immediately after, in between chapter 1 and 2, and then after that, the book itself is going to be just like the other books. Will be better print quality, there will be colored pages this time, and they'll be printed in color. So it's going to be, all the chapters will have more colored pages within them, and they will be colored by me, and they'll obviously I'll do my best with them. But there are also colored pages in there that when they were printed with the current version of our tanks, they come out in black and white unless you have like a digital version. So here, the colored pages will be printed as intended, and then there will be more color pages in there. Also, the book will have exclusive bonus content, character work in there, a new popularity poll illustration in there, and lots and lots and lots more.
All right. So Andrea, since Whyt, tell us about Apple Black, which exists right now, but this is the new version of it for our brand new line. Tell everyone about Saigami Volume 1, which is the new version of Saigami, which they can get right now, but rebuilt for this new line. What makes this volume of Saigami different than the first volume?
Well, my story is kind of similar as Whyt's with this remastered first volume. Saigami Volume 1, the new Perfect Edition, will have a new chapter that will also add to the story. Like, it won't be a filler, but something that can help you understand the world better and if you'll have more action. Because I feel like, looking back now at the Volume 1, that it didn't have as much action. The progress of the story was a little bit slow, so this extra chapter will help with that. Also, I will have more bonus content. Yeah, the color pages for Saigami as well, like the original colored chapter color pages, and there were few color pages will be printed in color, and I also will do some more coloring with some of the pages. So the hope is that with these color pages, you can experience the world Saigami plays in better, in color, more details. I will remaster some elements of the first volume, correcting some mistakes, making sure the volume has an overall better quality. And yeah, we will add also a popularity poll because Saigami Volume 1 didn't have that, so we're gonna make up for that. And yeah, overall it will have a way better quality since I improved both as an artist and a storyteller. Now I can fix everything in Volume 1 according to that.
Okay. All right. And so last but not least, we've got Mr. Jeyodin. Now, Jay has not had a Volume 1 published with us originally. This will be his first Volume 1. And his book, Hammer, will be completely in color. Jay, tell everyone kind of why you wanted to do it all in color and have all, and it's going to be, until how many pages it's going to be. Just give us kind of a backdrop as to what this first volume will feel like for our fans.
So Volume 1 of Hammer is the entire first arc of the Ocean Kingdom. It's basically the entire introduction of not only the entire world, the entire story, but also what I want the art in general feel to be like. I put it all in color because I wanted to separate it from just traditional manga. I, love manga, obviously, but I also know that, the market in America, well, a huge part of the market in America doesn't necessarily look at manga as much as, I guess the fan base of manga. So I wanted to try to bring them in too, and the best way to do that is with color. So I always have this, thing in my mind. I've always wanted every single kid to pick up this book and just, pick it up and then realize that it's all in color and then just lose their mind. And then obviously just, hopefully buy the book. So, I mean, that's the reason why I put it in color. And I really think this first volume is just going to be pretty awesome. And I hope everybody that picks it up is going to enjoy it. So, yeah.
So, it's how many pages again? I don't know if we got to that exactly.
It is 350 full color pages. Honestly, it's actually, the entire book is 350 pages, but there's like, I think I want to say 2 or 4 pages of ad space, and then everything else is just comic. Like it is packed. Unfortunately, this first volume is gonna be the biggest one, and every other volume after this is going to be substantially smaller. But I mean, I think that everybody that likes Hammer is definitely going to enjoy this. Like I said, it's the entire first arc. I mean, it has a climax, it has, everything that you'd ever want in the beginning of the story. So I think you're gonna enjoy it.
So, folks, so let's talk real quickly again about why we're doing this. We think that we've got a fantastic brand. We've got fans literally since we started the company in Nicaragua, Brazil, Argentina, all the way up to America, to Europe, over to Asia, Russia, Vietnam, China, and then into Asia, the Far East part of Asia, Africa, Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, and then, of course, out into the outskirts of the world where you're looking at New Zealand, Australia, and so on. We've got amazing characters. We have amazing creators. These are three of our best. You can just see here in the artwork of these three covers that are there that, you know, our characters are very vibrant. They're very original. We are very proud of what the work that we've done. And so having these books sitting on a bookshelf, and obviously your bookshelves, but on a bookshelf next to Naruto and Fairy Tail and My Hero Academia and Inuyasha and you know, and Tokyo Ghoul and so on and so forth is something that we think is the right place for us to be. We think it was the right time. We've proven that we can sell this type of material thanks to our existing tanks. We're going to be continuing the tanks. It's not like those will stop. In fact, the next one that we've got coming out will be Paradise Down by Jamie Molina. We're very excited about that. So we're really excited to kind of have all these irons in the fire, so to speak. But what's crucial about this is that if we can do this, if we can make this Kickstarter work and get these books out, we will prove to the world that manga is not constricted to just one part of the world. And that's what makes us really important. That's what makes us important for everybody, not just us, but to everyone. When I started Saturday AM, I said repeatedly, this is a revolution. This is not about, you know, I'm not even that much of a fan of this stuff. So it's not about stroking my ego or trying to do something unique. This is about creating a revolution in terms of representation, the way manga is viewed and seen around the world, and the way that everyone has a chance to interact with material. So if we can make it work, it gives us a chance to change the game for everybody. Titles like Radiant are great, but this is an entire line. All of our series, Clock Striker and Massive Multiplayer World of Ghosts and Bully Eater and Titan King, Paradise Down, Mutton Chop, and so on and so forth, Soul Beat, that we can bring to this conversation with amazing creators like that. So we launched this. We're not, you know, the average Kickstarter, folks, is asking for $10,000 or more for one book. We're asking for $10,000 for 3 books. Our first week out, we hit 50% of our goal. We were over $5,000 our first week out. Second week, you know, it kind of slowed down a little bit. Obviously, you had the hurricane and various things happening, but we expect to get back on track this week. And folks, we want to, in these next 16 days, we don't want to just do 10,000. We want to blow past that number. And so if this is something that you believe supports the goals that you have in terms of being a creator one day, then we hope you'll support us. If you are big fans of Whyt Manga or Andea Voros or Jeyodin, we hope you'll support us, because this is really taking their material to an ultimate level, right? You're getting color pages, brand new premium paper, a brand new design and dust jacket that allows it to really sit on your shelf with pride. This is a different whole game than what you may already have with Apple Black Volume 1 and Saigami Volume 1. So if you're fans of what we do, fans of these creators, we hope that you will give us a chance and come support us with this Kickstarter. We want to blow past this number this week. Now, that being said, we're not just trying to do this. Again, we're not like, you know, other companies. We're like, hey, support us because we matter. Support us because we got some great rewards we want to give you guys. So let's talk about those rewards real quickly. Let's see here. First things first, we have some fantastic digital products. So almost the very first things you'll get will be things like gift cards and so on and so forth. So one of the first things you're going to see here, for example, is, whoops, sorry, let me get that brought up for you guys. I didn't have the page set here. Let me pull it back so you guys can check it out. Let's see here. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. The technology we use is pretty booty. But give me a second here. Here we go. All right. So one of the first things you'll have a chance to get will be, you know, our digital products. So we have some great wallpapers. We have these 2 brand new digital magazines you can't get anywhere else. So if you've ever been curious about what the powers of Sano are, or how tall Ayumi from Saigami is, or exactly what is the deal with Hammer forming a hammer, can he do other stuff? Stud, can Stud form other parts of his body into hammer type material or iron sword material? Then this is what you're looking for. Now, in Japan, to books, these are considered other things. In America, we've had things like Who's Who or the Official Guide to the Marvel Universe. The Saturday AM Primer is a completely brand new magazine that we will have. It's one big, giant, colorful issue featuring data detail, single character within the Saturday AM universes. That includes Clock Striker, Massive Multiplayer World of Ghosts, Bully Eater, Better Off Ignorant, Spoon, Paradise Down, and so on. So you get this here officially via the Kickstarter. You'll get it before anybody else if you support the Kickstarter. And really, at any level, you'll be almost able to get magazine. The other magazine we have is the big one, folks. Is Saturday AM Zero. It's Saturday AM Zero. So we're about to hit our 100th issue of Saturday AM. But Saturday AM Zero is actually we've never done to culminate 100 issues, but this will be our 0 issue, and this will only be available here. Now, what's going to be in the 0 issues? Let me tell you what's going to be in the 0 issues. You're going to get a all-new Chapter 0. This will not be in the Bremer. An all-new Chapter 0. You get some brand new material in there from Whyt Manga, from Andea Voros. There's going to be a brand new story from Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts, a brand new story from Clock Striker. You get a ton of material, but the big thing is the Saturday Wars crossover. Now, folks, you just saw Avengers Infinity War. If you read any sort of American comic books, you know how awesome it is to see the characters like Spider-Man and Hulk and the Avengers team up, and the X-Men and so on and so forth, or Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the Omega Men, the New Gods, Teen Titans, all them team up in their world. In this one, you're going to get Apple Black, Clock Striker, Saigami, Bully Eater, Spoon, Mutton Chop, Hammer, Titan King, Paradise Down. All these series, including and more, smashed into this big epic series that takes all these characters up against a threat that could destroy life as we know it. And it's going to be amazing because you've never seen this before. You've never seen this before, right? Manga doesn't do this. Manga, when Naruto has the powers of a god and Goku has the powers of a god, and we know one day Luffy had the powers of a god, that's what manga is, because they're all individual worlds and they're all individual creators. It's hard to coordinate those series together in a serious way. That's why when you see the crossovers, they're not very serious. This is serious. This is big. And so when this happens, trust me, people are going to be talking about the same way they talk about Saturday AM now. They're going to be amazed that no one's ever done this before. You want to see this. You want to experience. This is literally years in the making, and it's going to be in Saturday AM issue number 0, which will not exist anywhere except for this Kickstarter initially. We've got more. That's not all. We've got cool stickers. These stickers are being produced by Andea Voros. So you get these cool stickers. These are not all the stickers. They're going to have some new designs and so forth to them. But Andrea is going to be working to make these things really, really sing and be really, really cool. These gift cards. Now, the further up with the gift cards, you're going to be able to have a chance to get from $5, which is the very first thing you can get, to $100. And this is our new artist for Clock Striker. This is what cast looks like now. This is a $100 gift card. You're going to get this, which means that pretty much anything in the store, you're going to be able to get just right off the bat. So we got so much stuff in the store, including our entire run of issues. You're going to be able to clock up on all these various things with this $100 gift card. You're going to hire via the $100 gift card. So that's a pretty big deal to have in that context. We've got more stuff. That's not all, of course. One of the big things is that one of the first things you get is wallpaper. So we have brand new original wallpaper drawn by our 3 mega artists that are on this chat right now. I don't have all the images. You can find them up on our Kickstarter page. But for that, Apple Black with Hammer and Ayumi from Saigami illustrated by Whyt Manga. This is a digital wallpaper. You're going to put this on your phone, on your desktop, on your brand new tablet, on your smart TV. And you're going to have 2 other pieces of brand new digital wallpaper, one from Andrea and one from Jay. The one from Jay is fantastic, the one from Andrea is fantastic, and you're getting all of those right here. That's one of the very first things you get. But one of the big ones is you're going to get a print. This is a 11 by 17 print that features versus big super pop. So what would it be if Santa went up against, I don't know, One Punch Man, where you're going to get a chance to get that print by Whyt Manga, completely original, in a big premium format. That means it's a big stiff paper, beautiful glossy colors. You're going to get that print. And you're also going to get a print from Jeyodin featuring Hammer versus Full Metal Alchemist, and you get one from Andrea featuring a Yumi from Sagami versus, is it Kingdom Hearts, Andrea?
Yeah, sorry, from Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts. There you go. So you get this great thing, because we always get asked about, well, how would our character interact with this character, yada, yada. Obviously, we don't have the rights to those characters, but as a one-time print, and folks, we don't do this. If you see us at conventions, we don't do this. You will not see us at conventions with other material. We don't go to conventions. I understand what other companies do. I understand what other creators do it, but Saturday M is not that. We're proud of what we've got. So we don't go to conventions and say, hey, check us out. But, here, while you're here, check out our artwork showing us drawing characters we don't own. If you come to our booth, you're there to celebrate our characters. So this is the one time that you'll get a chance to appreciate brand new, beautiful artwork featuring characters that you know and love with our characters that you know and love in one moment. And it's a really beautiful print that you get a chance to check out. Now, the big one is commissions. You're going to get commissions. And so if you want to get Whyt Manga, Andea Voros, or Jeyodin to draw your character, or a character that you choose, it could be Batman, it could be Superman, full body, full color, we got limited slots of that. Now, I want to address this one real quickly because, again, I'm on my best behavior. We're trying to get people to support our Kickstarter, and I'm older, and I'm the publisher and the founder of the company, but you all also know how I am, and I try to keep it real because I'm African American. I've seen how people get screwed over left and right, and I think it's important as an older person to always try to talk truth to power. So I have seen people, clueless people, try to associate our Kickstarter or parts of our Kickstarter in ways that make no sense. Meaning, I know I saw the other day on Twitter, someone had written, one of our guys, and was saying, well, now for $400, which I think is the price for Whyt Manga's commission. So $400, folks, you get all 3 books, you get all the material we talked about, and you get a commission, a drawing by Whyt Manga of your character. It's either $400 or $450. And one person wrote and says, well, I support Whyt Manga. And they explained it as being they support Whyt Manga because they go to his YouTube page, which is free, and they check out his comic book on the website, which is free, and they just like him. So he should do a commission for him for free. Now I don't know how old this person was. I'm hoping and praying this is a very young person that is not quite versed in maturity yet. But based on some of the comments in that thread, I know some of the other people probably weren't. They were just being, saucy and ignorant and juvenile. Folks, this is, when we put this Kickstarter together, we worked hard to make sure that, as always, we make the best possible opportunity for our fans. You might not know this, but we produce a digital magazine just about every 2 weeks. Brand new layout, brand new design, full color, high res, going directly to your phone, your tablet, your desktop, all produced by us in-house with our amazing group of creators from around the world. And we do it so consistently that we're about to hit our 100th issue in 5 years. We have competitors, folks, as you know, who've never even gotten to the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th issue of their magazines. I say that to say that this is a lot of work. And for us, when we put this together, we said we want to make sure that we give the best value to our people. Creators like Whyt Manga can get $200 or $300 for a commission alone. So the notion that we have these guys agreeing to do a number of commissions alongside of original prints that will be available nowhere else, original wallpaper available nowhere else, brand new chapters of their books available nowhere else, stickers with some new artwork available nowhere else, 2 brand new magazines that we're developing that are available nowhere else. All of that for $400? Yeah, we know that you compare us to other people who have Kickstarters is pretty extraordinary. So we don't ask that you support us if you don't want to. We don't ask you support us if you don't believe in what we're doing. We ask that you support us if you understand that we work really hard to do what we're doing and that we're not here to try to take advantage of anybody. We're here to try to make opportunities for people. If you understand that, then you truly are a fan of Saturday M. And if you are in a position to help us with this Kickstarter, please do. Please do. We'd appreciate it. We'd love it. So we've got some fantastic rewards, stickers, bookmarks, 2 brand new digital magazine addendums to our existing Saturday M magazine, which is about to hit issue 100. In fact, issue 95, which is the return of Apple Black, actually will debut this week. And if you're a backer, not a subscriber, but if you're a subscriber, you're getting it. But if you're a backer of Saturday M, you've never subscribed to the magazine, you will get this brand new issue of Apple Black, a brand new installment of Apple Black alongside of within issue 95 of Saturday M. You also can get commissions from Whyt Manga, Andea Voros, and Jeyodin, but there are only 4 commissions these guys can do because of their time commitments that they've got doing other stuff. So this is a true value. If you want to get Whyt Manga or Jeyodin or Andea Voros, and folks, there is no option to get all 3. It's one of the 3. So if you want them, you only got 4 slots. So don't spend too much time deliberating on it. Please give a chance and check it out. You promise you're going to enjoy all the great things you're going to get with this. Again, this is our Kickstarter. It is to promote our brand new digital magazine. We're digital. I'm sorry, not digital magazine. It's to promote our brand new graphic novel line. It's kicking off with brand new version of Apple Black Volume 1, a brand new version of Saigami Volume 1, and the all new Volume 1 of Hammer by Jeyodin. We are super proud of this. We're incredibly proud to launch with these 3 amazing creators, and we truly hope you guys will help us. We're gonna hit our number, but we want to go past our number because we've got so many great additional rewards that we can do that will put us in a position. So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. Now we're gonna jump on back to the remaining part of our pitch session, talk about the last couple of pitches that we received, and then we'll answer a couple of questions. Then we're gonna call it night. All right, so let's jump back into it. If you guys have questions, make sure you hold them till the end. All right, so next up we have, let's see here. Our next title is one of my favorites of the night. It's called Bacon Bushido. Kickstarter ends November 1st, but hit all the final pieces of it at the end of the chat, folks. So don't worry. Bacon Bushido by Wesley Jamal Fleming. This is Usagi Yojimbo meets Dragon Ball. The plot: a samurai pig with no name treks across a medieval continent in search of his kidnapped brother and sister. Armed with a magical sword, the pig will battle against armies, giants, and a 1,000-year-old king. Andea Voros, this has you written all over because you're an angry little person. What did you make of this? Andrea?
Yeah, reading bacon kind of makes me hungry. But yeah, I can see the Usagi Yojimbo part, and it's always funny to see an animal as a main character. It's like a mutton chop, because that's there's just something about animals. So yeah, it's also a pretty straightforward pitch. It sounds okay.
Yeah, yeah, I agreed. Agreed. Whyt, what did you make of this? Is this it's a simple idea, but does it kind of capture you a little bit?
Yeah, and then again, this is one of those that I liked the title as well, and like you said, very simple, very unique idea putting it together. Obviously, the art style and things like that could use a little crisp touch to come off with a more professional style, because the style itself is, you like, I can see professional stuff like this out there with a little tweak. It could even be on something like a Cartoon Network.
Yes, agreed.
So I like the style. I like the character design of the pig.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just don't know. Maybe the the target isn't necessarily me, but I think it's something I can have fun with, especially with like the humor.
Right, right. Agreed, agreed. Jay, this strikes me as if this has you written all over it. What do you make of this?
You know me very well, sir. This was awesome. I read it and I was like, what? This sounds so cool. Having seen the pig, I was trying to look for his art for the entire time while we were talking, and now that I'm looking at this picture, I think his art obviously needs some work, but the story is, I mean, it intrigued me immediately. I'm all about adventure stories, and I thought it was simple enough to where you knew exactly what he was trying to do. You knew that his goal was this. You didn't necessarily need to know his name, but the fact that he was a samurai pig
Did we lose you?
was enough. Really cool and very interesting. So I wish that I just kind of wish that his art was a little bit more I guess up to par to what I guess Dragon Ball Z standards. I'm trying to think about when I look at it. When I see Usagi Yojimbo meets early Dragon Ball, I love that. That sounds phenomenal. But what I envision in my head and what I see is two different things. So I mean, I'm not to say that it's bad. I mean, I think anybody that draws more than than anything is obviously gonna keep on improving. So I mean, as he keeps on going, he's gonna get better. But I really liked it. I mean, I think the name was very intriguing. I thought it was really cool. I agree with Andrea. I'm kind of hungry myself right now, and bacon bushido kind of makes me hungry. So. But I liked it a lot. I thought it was.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think this goes back to what we talked about earlier. I can't remember who said it. I think Whyt may have said it, but some concepts come down to execution, and this is the image that I found. For the sort of series I think this artwork to me fits perfectly. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I need to see if they can do backgrounds and all this other stuff.
I can see it looking exactly like this and still loving it just because of the story and it being funny. I'm just saying, when I think about the show, that's what it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And I think but that's the key, right? Is its execution, right? So, like you said, it's got to be funny and it's got to be executed in a way that you can appreciate the action and appreciate the humor. Like that has to be there. If it is, then we're talking. If it's not, then it's a problem. I must say as well, I love the logo because it just has that kind of Mad Magazine simplistic sort of it's just I like it. I thought it was pretty straightforward. But I liked it. I thought this was really cool. I would love to see more of this. Again, pitch wise, it interests me to see more. Next up is Zaidura. This is by CJ, and I'm not sure if that's exactly correct, but that's the name that I've got here. Some people didn't give us the information that we necessarily ask for all the time. So this is Lord of the Ring meets Avatar, and the plot is once he was a simple serving boy, now he is all that remains of his winter village destroyed by the villainous mysterious Veil. Young Erebos must join the Legion in order to strike back at those who stole his world from him. As he journeys through the realm of Zaidura, he meets an unlikely cast of characters who help him conjure up the courage to overcome his own problems and face his destiny, for he is all that stands between the world and the darkness that threatens to destroy it. Now, why this is one that you had selected from the group that we gave you. What did you make of Zaidura? What stood out to you about this particular series? Pitch.
I think similar to some of the other pitches, it's one of those that I feel like it's put together properly, and it's put together well. And when I think looking at Christian's artwork, I think he's pretty good. He has a very professional look to it. Some of it, like, it has his own style, and I believe most of it's like colored. It has a very Western touch to it. But when I saw the work, it did remind me of, you know, things like Lord of the Rings. So like I could get where I understood where the Lord of the Rings part of things was coming in. But the synopsis is, you know, pretty straightforward. Again, just like before, it's one of those things where I need to actually read it to be invested. It might be slightly enough for me to read it, just like the others, but for me to actually be invested, I'll need to read it, and so it's missing that hook in the synopsis. And again, it's hard. It's not an easy thing for anybody, that hook in the synopsis. Even like industry stuff sometimes doesn't have that. So I don't actually think it's like 100% necessity, but especially when you're pitching and like the pitch itself is what's being the main focus of our critique here, or of our discussion. So I think it's just missing that, finding a way to just let your audience know what about Zaidura is, like, you know, different from everything else, different from Lord of the Rings and Avatar. And I didn't get that too much. It seemed pretty standard to me, and so it's going to be one of those that I will actually need to read to be invested. But when you just look at it beyond you wanting it to achieve everything you wanted to, when it comes to the hook, aside from that, I think everything here is pretty good.
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think so. So you brought this up many times tonight, and I want to just make sure everyone understands the context in which you're talking about. And so, look, at the end of the day, like, this is a pitch session that I've said many, many times. We're not publishing these titles and stuff. We hope that we create enough attention that you will seek out the concept. Most of these do not exist. They're not existing webcomics and so forth. They're ideas. And we hope that perhaps some of the stuff we're talking about will give people the impetus to tweak what they're doing or expand what they're doing and really try to zero in on how to make this, how to sell this to fans, whether it's on, you know, a website or to someone who can finance it, or to an artist if they are trying to get an artist or a writer to help them. When you see stuff like this, again, when we're giving you, because that's all you've got when you do a pitch, folks. You got limited time, which means that you're not going to be able to sit there and give them backstory and give them pages of artwork and all that stuff. You're not going to have time for that. So again, what we try to articulate in these pitch sessions is how to make an effective pitch. And I think what Whyt's getting at a few times tonight is that, look, you're pitching us. That's the idea of the show. We don't know these people. We've not hung out with these people. We don't, in most cases, we've not seen enough of their art. You know, they provide us a link to some of their pages. We can go look at some of their stuff. As I've said before tonight, I choose the best image that they've got. Some of these guys, if you look at the totality of their artwork, it's not as strong as the image that we're showing. And everyone's got that one really good picture. And that's what we did, because again, we're trying to market these guys and help them build a fan base. Now, that being said, so we know, what is this? We know this is a fantasy type of series, right? Obviously. But this is a good example of an effective pitch. So Lord of the Ring meets Avatar. Okay, these are two recognized properties. We get it. But this idea of Avatar, why is this Avatar? What's the hook that makes this unique for Avatar? It's not here in the copy that he's given us. So what is it? What is it like? So we're talking Avatar the movie. Is he going into the body of some other creature? Is all this taking place in a video game? Like, what is the concept that makes this like Avatar? You can't just pull two items together that are popular and think it's going to work. Conversely, in previous pitch sessions, you've seen me be very direct with some creators who give us titles that no one's ever heard of. Well, it's like this and this title that you've never heard of, and it's like, well, if I have to Wikipedia your pitch example, that's not a good pitch. because I won't know what you're talking about. And again, this is about time. It's about how much time is there. So again, I don't know if this is Avatar for Last Airbender. I don't know if this is Avatar for the films. But either way, I don't really hear in the concept what makes it unique that therefore makes the association with Avatar or even Lord of the Rings, frankly, part of it. All I know is that these are two very popular franchises, and the creator's saying, hey, these are kind of like that. That being said, look, I mean, I can certainly say that I'm intrigued. This image is pretty cool. Character's black, so it's different. It's fantasy. This is clearly fantasy. It's different. The name Zaidura doesn't grab me in any one direction. That we've had other titles tonight that didn't really grab me. Some that did, like Jabroni, but but this one doesn't. Bacon Bushido grabs you, but this one doesn't really grab me.
I actually don't think that this. I actually don't think that this is an illustration from Zaidura, actually, because when I looked at
it's not?
Yeah, when I looked it up, it looked very different from this.
Okay, I tried to.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it.
I tried to pull in. Go ahead.
I'm looking at the pages right now. It looks completely different than this. He's very diverse in his art style, if that's the case.
Yeah, this seems to be a commission from someone else, and this in the picture actually is one of the creators.
Yes. Got it. So this is the creator. This is the commission from someone who did this. Who did this person?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Well, everyone, forget this particular image then. So where are the, so you guys see the pages? Because when I looked, I didn't see the pages.
Yeah, there's actually there's a link.
Link?
It's right. Yeah, have you created a webcomic before? It's in like the column G, 23G. If you're looking at the thing, that's when you click in, it'll bring it to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the pages right now. So yeah.
Okay. So folks, obviously we're pulling these up. So this is 23G. Got okay. This is one of those things where you want to have everything right when we're doing these things. That's why we always ask people to please give us, send us the give us stuff that's very specific. So he had this positioned in another area, but he did include it. We do appreciate that. I misread the stuff that he submitted then and thought it was something else. Looks pretty good. I mean, the artwork still looks pretty good though. So yeah, but it was, but again, it still raises the point, like I said, about the pitch is that, you got to give us what's unique about the pitch, right? You got to tell us what's unique about this. Where does this go? You could, has everyone seen the new show, Disenfranchised? Did everyone see that on Netflix? Did you guys, my team, did you guys see that?
I've seen bits and pieces. I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and watch the entire thing yet, though.
Okay, so you haven't seen it all. Okay, so just to be clear for the people watching this, let me explain just real quickly, and then I promise we'll move on. This is really simple. This is so that show is all it is from the creators of it's from the creators of what do you call it?
Simpsons and Futurama.
Simpsons and Futurama, right? So Matt Groening, and this is a fantasy series, right? Futurama took place in space. Simpsons takes place in present day. This takes place in fantasy era. If I describe that series without telling you it's from the creators of The Simpsons and so forth, and leaving out some of the parts that make it very Simpsons-like, you would just think it's a regular fantasy, right? The part about it that makes it really different is when you start getting into the fact this is created by The Simpsons, and then getting into some of the characters that are more Simpsons-like and so on and so forth that are very different or Futurama-like. And so that's kind of the point, right? Is that like it's a fantasy series. It's got the same tropes of every other fantasy series, but there are elements of it that make it extremely different from what you see. And so from that standpoint, we want to try to get this into the context where you can actually see the unique elements here. But anyway, regardless, like I said, I think it's interesting. I think it's totally interesting. Fantasy's hard. We rarely get pitches for fantasy. And like I said, from what I saw the pages just now, I still think it's, the pages look pretty good. I do wish the pitch though, and the concept was a bit more interesting because I still don't quite know what this is meant to be other than just your standard run of the mill fantasy. Jay, what did you make of this?
With the art style, I thought it seems like a more simplistic Joe Mad. And so like, after when I looked at that, I was like, okay, well, this looks, kind of familiar. So kept on looking at it. I think his comic book work is it's very clear, very interesting. He definitely has his own style. I kept on looking through more and more pages. So, I mean, he clearly has something going on. I honestly would love to see this in color because I think you'd be able to see it so much more. It would be so much clearer to see. But I mean, other than that, when it comes to the pitch itself, I totally agree with you. I'm not sure whether or not this is Avatar: Last Airbender or Avatar the movie. I kind of want to lean towards the movie because maybe they're all blue. Actually, he has a colored picture, so I mean they're not blue. But I mean, I know that they're aliens. So my point is that that's kind of what I'm thinking. I all the pages that I saw, I didn't necessarily look like they had like any elemental powers.
It looks like a standard fantasy. It looks like a standard fantasy.
Exactly. It doesn't necessarily have anything that's standing out. And I mean, I guess, by saying Lord of the Rings meets Avatar, you can kind of guess what the general feel of the story is supposed to be, or the direction, I guess. But other than that, nothing really stands out, like you said, to make me say, this is the X factor that made me, want to keep on reading this. Now, I will say that, like I said, I was looking through the pages. I'm a sucker for art, so I mean, that was in color. I definitely would have, looked through more pages. But I looked through probably at least a chapter or two, and it was pretty interesting. So, I mean, art-wise, anyway, I didn't really read everything because I'm trying to pay attention. But yeah.
Yeah, well, this is a pitch. We're not. I mean, this is again, you're pitching. The people are pitching the idea to get us to one read. This is not a hey, let me read my own comic book. So I'll say, folks, again, we're going to try to post the links up for this stuff. He does have a handful of pages up on a site. Just had a chance to check them out. It's interesting. It reminds me of artistically. I don't know who the artist is. It's the same guy who's doing this. It does because it does strike me a little bit like this comic called Skull Kickers from years back.
I was thinking Battle Chasers like this. His old comic, Joe Mad from like
I know
he never finished.
I know Battle Chasers. Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't put this in Battle Chasers around.
Well, I mean, no. Battle Chasers looks way better. I was saying that it looks like a simplistic version of that. Like, what if you just take away the detail and keep the clarity? Like that's kind of what it looks like to me.
There's an American comic artist that reminds me of his name, Carl Keschel. He was kind of big in the '90s, and this does kind of remind me of that. I mean, it's a style that I think is I like the style quite a bit. Again, I agree with you completely that it's those kind of open ended. The way the style is kind of static, and so I'd love color to kind of bring more definition to some of the characters and to the world a bit, because otherwise it's kind of static. Like the black and whites don't really, it's like it doesn't add anything to it per se. It's just there. But anyway, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Again, as we said before, I don't know what makes this unique other than it's just standard fantasy, which is okay if that's what it is. As we said a few minutes ago about Bacon Bushido and about some of the other titles, then it just comes down to execution. It's like, okay, you're just doing a fantasy, then how strong is this fantasy idea? Andrea, what did you make of this series, Zaidura?
The description feels generic, but depending on how the word and the characters are executed, this could be good. Like I'm a fan of fantasy, so I could imagine reading this. The art looks really good. I wish it was in color though, because it has that vibe that it would be better presented in color. But yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it comes down to like the when it's not in color, and it's just lines. The line variation, like all the lines are like demanding your attention.
That's
so
right.
So if the characters were the only ones that demanded attention, and then the background lines were say thinner, or maybe some maybe smaller panels didn't have backgrounds at all, I think it would be easy to maneuver through it.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, so next we got two more to go after this one. One's gonna be very quickly, and you'll see why in a minute. Sprayser by Keith Williams. I told you see the My Hero Academia again. My Hero Academia meets Power Rangers in a world filled with armored spandex heroes. Carver Wild, aka Sprayser, is a hero at his core, but often is underrated and unappreciated due to his willingness to sacrifice himself for others without the recognition of civilians. He often believes he could do more with the power bestowed upon him by his father, who was a legendary hero, but he has no sense of direction on how to do so. Setting his own beliefs about heroics reputation aside, he registers himself into the Arch Hero program, a series of high-octane superhero trials and courses that ranks the participating heroes on their progress of becoming a greater hero or grand hero. So this is Sprayser. Let me run to Andrea first. Andrea, what did you make of Sprayser?
So far it sounds a lot like Hero Academia, and I'm not sure what is different in this story based on this pitch than Hero Academia.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I mean, being a Sentai doesn't change this much, right? It's My Hero Academia essentially. You know, it's Power Rangers as opposed to Superman, but same concept. Whyt, what did you make of this?
Yeah, like I'm with you guys, but at the same time, to me, it was actually a little less My Hero, maybe a little more like One Punch Man, but everybody in spandex.
Yeah, he does mention that thing that sounds very One Punch Man about the recognition and stuff.
Yeah. So I hear this and hoping it's like a comedy, because if something like this, usually if stuff like this takes itself too seriously, it's kind of weird. And then the Power Ranger stuff really only comes in the fact that they're wearing like spandex, but I don't think that's enough for just Power Rangers, but maybe it is. Again, it's one of those where you can read it and there are certain aspects of it that sound kind of cool. So maybe the finished work could surprise everybody. But I looked at more of the creators' stuff, and I think they're really, really big fans of Power Ranger, and I think that's why a lot of it is incorporated in here somehow, just like squeezed in some way. And it could even contrive some of the character designs because everybody kind of looks similar, in at least what I'm envisioning, just going off of this critique. So to me, it's actually a little more One Punch Man than My Hero, but My Hero is the popular one right now, so it's kind of like
that's right.
Everyone's kind of going to use that instead. There's certain aspects of it that I think could be interesting. It seems pretty standard, except there are parts of it that make it seem alive, and that maybe he has this world figured out to a degree that maybe gives me some hope. But beyond that, it's one of those that you kind of have to. There is no super hook in here that makes me go, okay, this hero story is going to be different from the other hero stories.
Right. I mean, I think this is similar to Zaidura. I think this is similar to what we just talked about with Zaidura, where you know what it is, but there's just nothing. You're not being told anything that makes it seem unique from what, because you already know what it is. Like, it's like you don't have to imagine much about what it is, right? You know what it is.
I guess.
But like, what makes it you different? Well, again, and I was thinking when you said that about like what would make it different about being Sentai. And the only thing I could think of, right? I mean, yeah, the spandex and the helmet. The only thing I could think of was that it'd have a robot, right? Like you'd have a robot you can pilot, and like, but again, like if you're going to use that, then talk about that. Talk about the fact that like if you're going to use an example, then have that be relevant. Don't just use an example because it's like the first thing you think of. Use an example that really, even if it's just on a metaphysical level, gets to the heart of what you're trying to do with the series, because that's what allows the pitch to have some life. Jay, what did you make of this?
The pitch sounded very, very similar to My Hero Academia. I mean, I remember when Naruto was like at the height of its popularity and every other person was making a ninja story. So, I mean, we're just in that point right now for My Hero Academia. I agree though with Whyt. It does kind of sound like hopefully it's a comedy, because if it's not, it will, probably seem kind of weird, So, I mean, with that said, I agree with Whyt saying that it kind of sounds like One Punch Man more so than My Hero. But I also agree with you. I mean, if there were robots in this, it probably would set it apart a lot more. Maybe if you focus more so on robots as opposed to somebody trying to be a hero, because that story's like, the thing is that story not only has been told, it's already being told. And it's constantly being told more and more and more. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it can be told in a very, very good way, and execution is, always key. But I mean, you always have to bring something new to the table. Like, I mean, what is your voice with this particular story? Like, for instance, I love, what the Hammer is basically, my version of like all these awesome shonen stories that I've always loved, but like with my voice, like, telling it. So, I mean, that's why it feels like it, but it also isn't. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I mean, I feel like this person has the idea, maybe he has a lot of awesome scenes in his head, and maybe he wants to draw them, and maybe, this could be an amazing story, but the way he's pitching it to us, I personally wouldn't want to read it because I could just pick up My Hero Academia or One Punch Man. I mean, and have the exact same, if not better, experience. So yeah.
I hear you. Okay, Andrea, do you have anything before we move on to the next one?
Not really. Like what I said in the beginning, like it is way too much like Hero Academia.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything that tells me that hey, it's different or it's better than that.
I will say one more thing. I like the outfits. I am a big fan of Power Rangers, always been, and I thought that was pretty cool. So.
The artist is great, by the way. I mean, the artist, he's pitched to us before, and I mean, I think the artist has potential across the spectrum. There's a question. So next up is Void Men by Mustafa Shanouf. This was actually a team of guys from the Netherlands. Title we published for our summer of manga experience, and we never got a chance to critique their work. Unfortunately, I don't have the art available to me, but I will post the cover here in a minute so that you guys can go find it and have a chance to read it. It's been a while ago, so again, we haven't had a chance to get to it because we've been so busy this summer. For my guys here, who has read Void Men?
I read it.
I read it too.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Oh, well then, all right. Well, you read it. Okay. So then, because I'm old, so I can, when you start talking, it'll trigger my memory. All right. So let's go to Andrea first. Then, Andrea, tell us about Void Men. Or actually, I'm sorry, One Piece meets Star Wars. What did you think of Void Men?
I actually liked it. It was fun. Had some pacing issues in my opinion, but it was straightforward. Story of the hero saving his sister, and of course it turns out that he's the legendary Houndman or something like that. I can't remember, but he was like Space Dog or Space Hound was it? Yeah. It was really cool. It had some references, like how the main character was called Laika, like the dog that went into space first. So I really like that. The art was very unique in my opinion. It was a bit rough, but I personally liked it a lot.
So I do remember a lot of this now, and I will talk about it here in a second. Whyt, what did you make of this? Void Men.
While I think the name is kind of cool, I didn't 100% get it. I could like find some reason to justify the name, but beyond that, maybe I don't know, void in space. It's kind of like just empty. I could find some way to justify it, but like I didn't 100% get it. But I did like it. Right, the art style has this very rough, sketchy touch to it. And sometimes you can get away with that, and that could be your staple, that could be your style. I just feel like it was still missing some professional touch to really have it set in stone. So I'd advise get like better tools, get better scanner, better toning, better inking, all of that. But the overall skeleton of it, I thought was pretty good. It had potential in there. I 100% see there's certain aspects of it that are just flat out stupid, but like stupid in a good way, kind of stupid.
Right.
The ending, while I was already, it was one of those things where it was kind of predictable, but predictable in such a way where, for what it is, I can accept it for what it is. Like it's not that bad, right? It's not bad, but it was kind of predictable, right? It was, typical like one-shot shonen stuff. So that's why to me it's kind of acceptable. It's what I like to call a Deus Ex Machina, which is very prominent in shonen works, where all of a sudden at the end of a series, the solution just comes out of nowhere. There were moments where they were kind of funny. Like I could see the potential in the series, but I'd work on the execution of the artwork, right? I do like that the creator challenged themselves and was trying to do tough angles, was trying to, was doing their best. But it could definitely use some work. And then other aspects of it, I felt like the story could be better. Again, it comes down to the execution, but for the most part, the idea, the skeleton of it is pretty decent. I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it.
Okay, all right, that's good praise. All right, Jay, what did you make of it?
I enjoyed reading the story. I think the main reason why I personally enjoy reading it is because it reminds me a lot of One Piece. I really like the art style. I like the fact that it's really rough and very sketchy. I will say a few things though. So just a heads up. One, I would say that you definitely need to pull out in your camera angles because there's a lot of mid shots, and because there's so many mid shots, it kind of like all seems like, I don't know how to say this, like just not as interesting as it could be. I'll say that because I mean if you changed up some of the angles or move the camera back a little bit more and show more of the backgrounds, but actually do an establishing shot, showing that their feet are actually on the ground, just pull out the camera a lot more. That's definitely something that will help out a lot more. Everything that Whyt said on top of that, and then also everything that Andrea was saying too. I don't know. I just feel like it definitely has a lot of potential when it comes to the art, but just it needs some more work. I will also say I assume that this artist is still kind of young. I'm not really sure exactly how old they are.
Yeah, very.
Okay, cool, great. I mean, if that's the case, then I mean you're doing amazing. But with that said, as an artist that loves One Piece, I know that you do because there's a few panels in this that are kind of art swiped, and it's that's just something that you should stick away from. And now I get that in the very beginning, as an artist when you're learning everything, you use things for reference, and that's definitely something that you should do because it'll help you out and get better. But try to stay away from art swiping because there's gonna be a hardcore fanboy out there that's just gonna say, "Oh wait, I remember that panel from volume so and so and page so and so." So I mean, that's my only advice in terms of the art. The story I thought was exactly like what I was saying. I mean, it was a shonen one shot. I mean, it was very quick. I enjoyed it because I love shonen stuff. But I mean, it was nothing brand new or anything like that. I thought it was actually, when it comes to the pacing, Andrea hit it on the nail. I mean, he definitely could have done a little bit better with the pacing, but that just comes with time. The art style is, I love the art style. I mean, I'm not gonna front. I mean, I know I said this earlier. I know that it's, very sketchy and stuff, but the fact that it just looks like this person has their own style. I mean, granted, it's rough, and as time goes by, it'll be, it'll just get more and more solid. But I love the energy in this, and if you could somehow transfer this using better tools, then I think that you could be a force to be reckoned with for sure. So I mean, but those are my insights on this story. I did enjoy it though.
Yeah, I'll say that he definitely had some cool. There were some original aspects to it. The fact is, it's taking place in space and stuff like that. I do wish that he tried to make this world parallel to Earth, but I wish he could have done more things to let us settle in this world, and maybe even though it's similar to Earth, but still have some things that let you know that you are on another planet beyond the way the people look. Everyone was kind of bold, which I thought was kind of funny, I guess. And then the font he used was not the greatest, and the way
I was getting ready to smash that font thing, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, the font he used was not the greatest. The way he placed the font was not the greatest as well. So stuff like that was weird. The scannings, so some lines were like darker than others, and so like the text would be like really black, but then the lines of the scan will not be as much. And then there were some inconsistencies in the art. There were times where I couldn't tell the difference between him and his sister. So like I needed to like pay real close attention.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That is
And,
definitely something.
and then but you know, at the same time, it did show some promise. So I like the originality with all the space stuff, right? But then there were there were also some good moments where say when they were talking to a soldier, and the soldier answers where the soldier's answer shares the same screen with like the introduction to the character, which I thought was cool. It could have been cooler. Like it's one of those things where I feel like this guy will get better with time, and he'll get better with better tools and, you know, continuous better editorial support or more feedback, and he'll just get better. But you know, it is what it is.
Yes. So so I agree. Well, first of all, let me say I'm surprised that you guys were you know, I mean, because this was a while back. And again, folks, what you're looking at is the cover for issue 91. That is the issue that Voidman appears in, because unfortunately I did not have, and I'm actually trying to pull together the image right now to show you guys at least an image from the issue, and we hope that you guys will go and download issue 91 from our store, and we will post a link for that here in a little bit. So yeah, so I remember talking to these two young men. It's two young men from the Netherlands. So people are asking where they're from. They're from the Netherlands. This summer, our summer of manga, we ended it after about 6 or 7 entries. We simply just had too much stuff going on, so we just didn't have the sort of time that I would have liked to dig into it. But this was the last one we published, was issue 91. We had published another series from the Netherlands, a series from Germany, a series from Saudi Arabia, which was very strong, a series from America with Frey, and then this title. I've got a piece of the artwork here you can see now on your screen. Oh, well, great. It's super small, so that's great. So anyways, I don't know why it's super small. You know, it's can I make it bigger at all? I guess not. Oh well. Anyways, all right. Well, folks, they can't make it any bigger, so that's as good as it's gonna get. Look, this is the lettering was atrocious, and this is one of the things I talk about all the time, is that, you know, you got to take every part of what you do seriously. As I said in the first rules we talked about, take your time. You're not in a hurry. And so something like lettering, when you've got a page that's constructed that's really strong, can just ruin the experience. And what's the point in doing all that hard work if you're going to ruin the experience? So that was frustrating to me. I actually thought the artwork was unique. I stand with everyone else. I didn't see the elements here that made it look like One Piece. Now, maybe I'm just not as strong of a Chiro Oda fan. To me, this artwork looked like, that's what made me kind of appreciate what these guys are doing. It looked like the artist who did Hellsing and did Drifters. What's his name? Hirano, I think. And because his work is very sketchy, and his work is very abnormal. Like, there are parts of it that are really awesome. There are parts of it where the biology and geography make no sense, but he can capture spectacle really well. And that's what's made him a very successful manga creator, even though you would never compare him to Murano-san or Kishimoto or Kubo or any of those guys. But so it kind of struck me like that. Like, it was very raw. It was very rushed, rough, as you guys say. But there are parts of it that gave it a charm because of that. The fact it took place in space, I just thought it really worked for it. So I found myself really liking it. You know, it wasn't one of the strongest entries we had in the summer, but I would love to hear what you guys think. And you guys, again, one, experience Voidman for yourself. It's got a pretty tidy plot. I remember, by the way, Whyt and everyone else, they were struggling with that plot. And so I remember talking to them about needing to compress it because they only had so much page count. So that may be why it feels a little rushed. But it was interesting, and I do want to give those guys credit for doing some hard work on that.
Yeah, I think
go ahead.
I think the silly aspects of the story, because it did have some comedy to it. So I think that silliness is maybe what's pointing to the One Piece of it. But beyond that, I can't really think of anything else.
Okay, so folks, this is going to be fast, and then we're going to get to the questions, and we're going to wrap up with the Kickstarter. I want to thank you all for your patience tonight because we're coming up on 3 hours, and we're not going to go past 3 hours. So this is going to be very fast. This is our final entry for the night. It's called Your Portrait by Juan Camilo Prado. Your Lie in April meets Fuka. Why am I presenting this? First of all, this should not be presented because this is clearly a porn comic. But I thought the young man clearly has talent. And so I thought, well, you know, he's got talent, so let me give it its due, so to speak, by at least referencing some of this. Suda is a young artist who tries to become successful in the fine arts world. While doing so, he always thinks about Hanoka, his former love from high school, a girl who disappeared the same day he wanted to confess his feelings for her. Years later, he will meet a girl who claims to be the same girl he loved, but looks nothing like her. This makes him try to find out who this girl is. And where exactly did the real Hanoka go? So, so it's got a bit of a thriller plot to it, but it is very much as someone posted in chat, saucy sort of series. The artist though is very good. The artist's stuff is very, very good. So you can see here an image. What wrong image? You can see this artist here. They're very, very strong. And I thought, hey, you know what? This is an artist that clearly is capable of doing this type of work if they wanted to. We're not the home for it, but this was interesting. Obviously, they weren't concerned about that. That's why I submitted it. And I thought, well, this is strong enough to at least be given a quick chat about. Again, this is saucy material. Does anyone have any thoughts on this sort of saucy stuff? Jay, I know that pornography scares you, so what do you think about this?
I think he's an amazing artist for sure. Saturday AM is, basically a way more diverse version of Shonen Jump, and Shonen Jump doesn't have foreign comics. But no, I mean, I can totally see this in like another seinen manga, and if done right, I mean, hopefully it's not just straight up, scene after scene, and everybody's just uncomfortable. But I mean, hopefully
there's some dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, the art is phenomenal. I think I'm looking at it right now. It says, hold on, it's a romance story. I think, Saturday AM does not have a romance story right now. I think maybe, it shouldn't be this one, but I mean, maybe it could be another one that's also romance. I have no idea, but I do love his art style. I think it looks very traditional. Traditionally Japanese, even though he's not Japanese. I actually saw.
That's what I was getting ready to say. He clearly is not.
I mean, he is.
Wait, which was a frustration for me because again, how I feel about this. I was like, dude, you're obviously Latino. Like, why are you not presenting a Latino character? Like, why? What is this fascination with creating characters? Manga does not have to be Japanese, but
I totally agree with you. I mean, the only thing I can think of, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of when I was looking through it, I saw a lot of girls. I mean, I'm not trying to say that maybe he has an Asian fetish, but maybe he has an Asian fetish.
Clearly. I mean, we can't tell the folks what we saw, but clearly there's an Asian fetish there.
I'm just saying. But I mean, all jokes aside, I mean, he's phenomenal. He has, he definitely has the artistic talent to make it in this field, and I feel like if he just keeps
without question, there's a question if he's not already doing it. Exactly. It's that good. And by the way, if you don't know what Fuka is, you should Google it. You don't bring up Fuka unless you know what it is, and that's why I said just porn scares you. Andea Voros, our resident Fuka expert, what do you make of this?
I never read Fuka, so I don't know. Although the art style reminds me a lot on Ice. That's another series.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually like the story despite the social element.
Ice was big. Ice was really big.
Yeah, like I really enjoy that. The artwork is really good, and if you could read something like Ice, I totally would read that because. Sure, there's all the fan service and all the stuff, but as long as the story is good, I don't mind a little bit of fan service, as long as it's not too overboard.
Yeah, and then now let's get Whyt's opinion about this. One thing I'm very curious about Whyt, because I don't know if you read porn or not. I don't know if you watch porn or not. I mean, I do know, ladies and gentlemen, that we gave this young man the marquee vehicle within Saturday PM to tell his story, Bakassi, which is great. And you guys hopefully are subscribing to our premium subscription. You'll get issue 3 here soon, which will include the next part of Bakassi, his first original manga outside of Apple Black. But in Saturday PM, you can show stuff like your portrait and yada, yada, yada. And Whyt has a nude scene in it. And I thought to myself, oh my God, Whyt Manga drawing a nude scene. And it's got like a picture of a little, it's like he covers it up with like a little smiley face. And I thought, damn, Whyt. So what is the, what do you make of this, Whyt? What do you make of this sort of Fuka material?
First off, the covering it up is all part of the joke. It's part of the series. It's supposed to make you laugh. You're supposed to be frustrated.
It did make me laugh. Yes.
So with this, I mean, I think, obviously this guy is Colombian, and but I have this feeling that he actually lives in Japan. I'm gonna play devil's advocate and give him the benefit of the doubt as to why he's doing this, and maybe he just feels like because he's in Japan, still not an excuse. I think. Besides that, if we just gloss over that, the artwork is definitely stellar, and the series definitely lends itself to have, room for potential for what it is, for its genre. I could definitely see something like this in PM, especially if it made some tweaks to make it more original. So maybe it wasn't Japan, maybe it was a mixture of it, or maybe a certain place in the US, or it could be Colombian or something, or just like,
I mean, so many countries in Latin America. I mean, Brazil alone is like, I still am amazed there aren't series that take place in Brazil. The women and everything in Brazil, the sports, everything in Brazil, biggest nation in Latin America. Like, Jesus, if you are Latin and you want to tell a story about, anything, you could base it in Brazil and have a field day.
Especially like Brazil with like, they have everybody got fake this, fake that, that's a thing,
So Carnival.
Yeah. So he can there's a lot to explore, but it's one of those things where everyone is in that Japanese box, and it doesn't have to be Japanese.
That's correct, and I think you're right, and I was going to mention it had you not. I do think this man. Well, I think I even said it earlier. I agree with you. I think he's already doing this material. I don't think this is by accident. I think he's, because like I said, if you know about Fuka and you already draw this stuff, you probably have already drawn something for them. So I get the impression that he lives in Japan or is producing material, because there are a couple of creators who've contacted us in the past who do not live in Japan, but they make Japanese porn comics. In fact, one of our creators, 30 PM, has done some of that stuff for a small Japanese publisher who publishes material that ends up getting translated by Faku. So here's what I would say. So I see people asking these questions. No, this is not a Saturday AM sort of material, not at all. And no, fan service can have a place, but it has a place in the conjunction with whatever it is we're doing at the time. So if we're doing titles that are action based or comedy based or fantasy, what have you, and there's a character who has some fan service, that's okay. But the idea that we do an entire series like Yuna currently happening in Shonen Jump, like that would never fly in Saturday AM. I mean, we'd, as people said, because the Japanese, have an issue with this material in terms of its ability to go wide, which we're very mainstream. And that is that a lot of the characters are young females. They're not even like 20-some years old. They're like 16-year-old or less. It just, that would never work for us. I'm not here to, it's something I don't understand personally, but it's not my job to police the Japanese. But I can say that when we're trying to build a company that we hope will have the impact of Saturday AM, stuff like that's just not even acceptable. Now, could it be in Saturday PM? Absolutely. But even then, I would still question some of the fetishization of it. And as Whyt and I just talked about, there's so much cultural opportunity to be extracted from it by having the series take place in another country by having the characters have more agency. I mean, this sounds just like a standard Japanese plot. Like you know, that's not how the real world works in the West. Characters don't behave like that. Boys don't get nosebleeds when they see a girl and stuff like that. So I would rather see something that felt more Western, felt more realistic, but still had the sex comedy aspects to it, because I think that those could be very successful if done the right way in America. And if someone's got something like that for Saturday PM and has the talent this guy has, then we'd be all for it. Absolutely. All right. So that was it for the pitch session show. So I'm going to recap some of these here in a minute, but because we do have these three amazing creators and we don't have them for too long, I would like to take a few minutes, at least 10 minutes or so, and have you guys ask any questions of them that you would like to ask. So if you guys have questions for Whyt Manga, Andea Voros, or Jeyodin, now is your chance to ask some questions. And while you're doing that, I will be posting various little messages to get folks aware of what we do at Saturday AM. So please post your questions and make them available, and these guys will get it. So first question. I misread the form. Assume you were asking for the entire plot of Daisy Push. So in the future, should I make it short, back cover, synopsis? Yeah, Raconius, that could be the case. Yes, but you know, again, you know, this was a very specific sort of thing. This is not the normal procedure that we would have for submission. So when we have the next submission, you know, we'll have the rules, and it'll probably be a little different than this anyway. And you'll have a chance to address that. Do you guys have any questions specifically for Whyt about Apple Black or his career, his education? Andrea, she just moved from Hungary to Canada. Jeyodin, who's doing some work. He's worked with mainstream American comic publishers. You guys have any questions for these three big guns? Any questions, folks? All right, so Cooper Carl says, have any of you guys seen Goblin Slayer yet? Who wants to take this?
I have not seen it, so I will be quiet.
I've seen it.
What did you think of it, Andrea?
Well, I probably will watch the second episode. The first episode was interesting. It was obviously violent, like, you know, it's getting a lot of buzz because it was kind of disturbingly violent in the first episode, but at the same time, it was, I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about it. Like, I don't get the hype. I'm just interested to see where the second episode is going. But I think it had some writing issues.
I agree with you. Yeah, it's very violent. Whyt, what were you? What did you major in?
I majored, well, for undergrad, I majored in fine arts and computer science minor. Initially, it was reversed, and like after a few semesters, I switched it. And then for my master's, it was MFA, Masters in Fine Arts, and concentration in visual communications. And I was allowed to kind of do some independent research on comics, manga, certain creators, and spent most of my time researching enough to pull off works like Bukasi.
All right. So for any of you guys, how long does it take to, normally to do a page? I guess they're talking, I guess, from, you know, inks, pencil inks and lettering. How long does it take?
For me, it depends on what you're drawing. If the page is just a panel of one big headshot, maybe the character is saying something really crucial, and it's like that's the focus of the whole page. That page would take me less time than, say, a double spread page where I'm drawing the whole city. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
but what would it take you to 2 days? Like, what's the longest a page is taking you?
when it comes to the amount of hours spent working on the actual page, a page could take anywhere, just in general, right? Let's just say in general, pages from start to 100% completion take me anywhere from 3 hours to 3 hours to maybe 12, or 12. Just counting the amount of time I'm actually spending on the page, because sometimes I might draw and then take a break, you know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Andrea, what about you? How long does a page take you typically? Like the most complex page you would do, how long would that take you from start to finish?
Well, my most complex page so far, I think, was the double spread from chapter 1 of Saigami that took me 18 hours to finish.
18 hours?
Yeah. Usually normal pages, depending on the content, take between like 3 and 8 hours, usually.
Okay, so a full day pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Jay? And keep in mind, your pages obviously have color, so how long would a page take you from start to finish? I know you break yours up. You kind of do it, layout and then pencils, yada yada.
Yeah, I do it in a weird way. If I had to guess, the most difficult page, I know for a fact the most difficult page I've ever drawn was not in Hammer, and it took 11 hours. So I mean, that was a lot of people that I had to draw, and it was a lot of backgrounds too. But and for Hammer, the longest page or the shortest time to the longest time is probably between 4 and 7 hours. Honestly, it just depends on the page and how much I really want to do that page too.
Okay, so next question for the three of you is, have you guys ever felt overwhelmed working with Saturday AM before? Jay, we'll start with you since you were the last one.
Right now I am. I don't feel overwhelmed, but I definitely have a lot on my plate. So I'm doing this, and I'm also working on the other book, and I'm also holding down a day job, and I'm also trying to spend time with my wife, and I'm also trying to do this and try to do that. So I mean, I don't feel overwhelmed, but it's definitely a lot that I have to keep in track of, so that way I can keep my sanity. So yeah.
What about you, Andrea? You ever felt overwhelmed?
Even if I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's not because of Saturday AM, it's because of the other things happening, like job, moving, everything else. Because Saturday AM is like my dream job, so even if it feels kind of pressuring, it is still fun to do.
Oh, that's very sweet of you, Andrea.
Oh.
Whyt, ever felt overwhelmed, Whyt?
Every day, man. This job is trash. That was trash, man. I mean, I need to like quit. Go work at Google or something,
Wait, you said go work at Google?
Yeah, go work at Google, man.
Yeah, I mean, shit. Can I join you? They pay benefits. Hell yeah. I'd be down with that too.
Oh man.
Okay, so guys, what do you make about writing first chapters? Someone, Markel Scott, said he watched the video from Andrea a couple of days ago. So Andrea, we'll go to you first, but you guys all have thoughts about kind of the complexity or tips to creating a good first chapter. Andrea, surmise what you were saying in your video.
My video was basically a big rant about how messed up the first episode and chapter of Haruka no Receive was, and I compared it to Haikyuu's first chapter. But all in all, it's about make the readers interested in your characters and in the story. Settle their goals and what the story will be about in the first chapter. Otherwise, the reader probably won't pick up the series.
Okay, and then Whyt, what about you? What about any tips on first chapters or any kind of thoughts on that?
It's best to know what you want to do, know what the goal is, right? Honestly, for any chapter, right, it needs to have the skeleton of the chapter needs to have a decent beginning, middle, and end for any chapter. So that goes for first chapters as well. But with first chapters, you want to make sure that you are almost treating it like a one shot, but rather than something that ends completely, you want it to show potential to continue, right? And you want to know what happens at least 10 to 20 chapters ahead, so you can kind of lay things out, and it kind of helps if you know what happens in the future, it kind of helps you decide on what to do in the present. So you kind of want to treat it in a way where you're giving the reader a clear idea of what's to come in the future in the series and why they should keep reading. But at the same time, it needs to serve as a story on its own, just in case somebody is like reading a bunch of chapter ones and deciding which one to pick, which one to pick and go forward with. So chapter one needs to be like a one shot, needs to be like a pilot. But at the same time, it needs to, be it needs to be part of something.
It's got to be part of a larger story. But you said it well. You said it very well, because I think that's the part so many young people miss is, I've talked about this in previous videos, but like people who want to do this, and we all are like this. When I was a kid, I was like this. Everyone's like this, right? There's something that got you into wanting to create comics in the first place, whether it was an anime you saw, a cartoon, a comic book you picked up, what have you. It gets you excited. It makes you want to do something like that. You may create something that feels very, very similar to it. And I always use example of Naruto. People forget that Naruto had several arcs before it got to the Chunin exams. The Chunin exams was what exploded Naruto's popularity. But Naruto had to first get to the Chunin exams. That meant getting through his first test to become a Genin, and then going up against Zabuza and all those things. And so it's just a really cool thing to kind of have the patience to tell a story long term, knowing that you want to get to the Chunin exams, but recognize that you got to create something exciting that will get people engaged first. That may take a couple of years before you get to the Chunin exams. You got to have that mentality. I think too many young people, I think, want it now. They want to create it now, and it can be done, I guess, but it makes it a lot harder to do it effectively. Jay, any thoughts on that before we get to the next question? First chapters.
Honestly, it's all about the main character. I mean, like what's the story that you want to like tell. I totally agree with what everybody was saying. For me, when I redrew my first chapter a lot because I knew what I wanted the story to be, and I had already mapped it out. I planned out the entire series actually, and I knew that if I didn't get the first chapter right and hit all the story beats that I wanted to hit, then it wouldn't actually eventually trickle down the way I wanted it to. So when it comes to first chapters, just know exactly what you want, and make sure it's perfect. I mean, you just gotta keep on rewriting it and keep on drawing it until it's everything that you want, so that way you can continue the story. So, I mean, obviously, listen to what Whyt and Andrea were saying. I think they were a little bit more descriptive in what they were saying, but I don't know. In my experience, I needed it to be perfect before actually continuing with the story. So I kept on redrawing it and kept on rewriting it until it was exactly what I personally wanted. And
Okay, so I'll tell you what we're going to do here, because there's so many questions coming in, and some of them have very specific things that I want to make sure get answered correctly. So we're going to kind of ignore all three of you guys answering. I'm just going to give it to one of you, and you guys can tag. Now, if one of you feels strongly about adding something to it, then feel free to speak up at the end. But I'd rather just kind of get through these faster. So let's start with you first, Jay. What type of scanner do you use?
I actually have a small scanner, but when I draw comics, I draw them digitally. I don't use a scanner when I draw comics.
Excellent, my man. Anybody else use a scanner? Andrea, Whyt?
I use a Mustech A3 scanner, and I have a video that kind of goes into detail about that. So some of these questions, I'll just direct them to videos. If you search how to scan manga on YouTube, I'm probably one of the first things to pop up, and I go in detail on how to use the scanner, what scanner I use, and all that good stuff.
Folks, that's again, if you're not subscribed to Whyt's channel, you should be. It's YouTube, Whyt Manga TV, WHYT. For some of you guys who always try to refer to him as YT Manga, stop it. It's Whyt Manga. Andrea, to you, Have you ever worked on anything other than salami? I mean, sagami?
Yeah, I had several one-shots before Saigami. One of them, I think, you still can read on Saturday homepage, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dreamwalker is available on Saturday homepage. And I have 2 short stories that are supposed to be up on Magjeeb, I think.
It is. It's up there. You're talking about the I forget the name of, what was the name of it?
Dreamwalker is up on Saturday.
Dreamwalker. Yeah, she's got a great short on our website, folks, called Dreamwalker. Just go on our webpage, Google it, or Google Dreamwalker and Saturday AM, and it'll take you to it. Great short story from Andrea. But she's done additional work, but we want to keep her to ourselves. Same with Whyt and Jay. Whyt, question for you: what advice on tackling perspective do you have?
Make use of online resources. There are a lot of videos that will try to break it down to you, and you start simple. So you start with like 1-point perspective, then go into 2-point perspective, and go into 3, and slowly you understand how it works. It's pretty basic, and I recommend with anything, repetition and practice. You do it. The more you do it, the more comfortable you become at doing it. And then, on the surface level, that's all the advice I can give in one video. But I will say again, stay tuned. I have a video that will tackle it even further. So subscribe to this channel, subscribe to the next channel, subscribe to Whyt Manga TV channel. But take steps and think in layers. So you understand for 1-point perspective, then 2, then 3, and you go on like that. And then let's say you're drawing a whole city, you need to go in layers, draw like the buildings, just the basic shapes first, and then get the layout of the whole city, almost like a 3D layout. And then you go in with the details after, and things get easier from there. So take advantage of online resources, books, and take it step by step.
I will throw in 2 things here. One of our partners, Comic Draw by Plask, has a app called Comic Draw app, or I'm sorry, Plask is one of our advertisers. They have an app called Comic Draw. You guys have heard us talking about it many times. Whyt has a number of videos on it. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, about Whyt and his videos. But Whyt's got a number of videos on Comic Draw. Check it out. They have for Comic Draw. It's only on iPad. It has a perspective tool on it. Not quite the same thing, but in talking with the CEO, I know that they intend to do more stuff to make that process easier if you are a digital artist, as Jay said. And folks, you just heard Whyt tell you he's got a video on scanners. He's got a video on perspectives. Folks, I want to say this right now. Help us with the Kickstarter, because this man cannot keep making videos. Eventually, he will make a video on what happens if you get a splinter from a pencil. We don't want that to happen. We want him making videos about cool stuff like the Apple Black anime and more things with Saturday AM and things like that. So rescue this man. Support our Kickstarter. It's a message from the team. Let's see here. Jay, do you have any tips on dialogue?
Oh wow. So okay, well, when I write dialogue, I create a character that is 100% solid. I know everything about Stud. I know everything about Diane, Detective Dan, everybody inside of my entire world. I know their entire personality, how they would say a certain thing, and so on and so forth. And then even then, while I'm drawing the thumbnails, the dialogue will change. I'll draw something and say, okay, that sounds cool. That's basically what I want him to say, but I need him to say it the way he would say it, not the way that I would draw him saying it, but the way that he personally would say it. Does that make sense? I mean, this is actually something that my mentor was talking to me about a long time ago. So now I rewrite dialogue up until I send it into the magazine, and that seems to be working. So that's my advice to you. But I mean, there's several other ways. You can definitely look it up online. There's a lot of other tips. One cool tip that you can do is base that particular character off of a friend that you know, or somebody that you personally know, that the ins and outs of, like your brother. You know, your brother would reply to a question by cursing you out and punching you in the face. So like, you would have that character do that, and then you know that the girl of your dreams would reply by saying things super sweet. Like, I mean, it's just, if you base them off of a character that you, or a person that you already know, it makes it a lot easier. But if you're just coming up with it on the fly, then yeah, definitely rewrite it constantly and keep on trying to get that particular voice that you want him to say or you want her to say. So that way you can convey it the way you want it to.
I'm going to combine this last question for the three of you, so all three of you can answer it, and I'm going to fly through some of the questions that are about the business, and then we're going to wrap this thing up because we don't want this thing to go too long. For the three of you, combined question. Number one, do you guys have a time skipped plan? And number two, do you guys already know how your stories will end? And then I'm going to throw in a third one and just say, is there anything you guys have done on your stories that you wish you could take back? Is there one thing that you did that you're like, oh man, I wish I did that differently in hindsight? So let's start on the first part of that three-part question. Is there a time skip plan for some of your series? I know the answer to this, but I want to hear you guys say it. Andrea, is there a time skip for Saigami?
Yes.
Okay. Whyt, I know the time skip for Apple Black.
Yeah, there was a short time skip for Apple Black, yes.
Okay. And then Jay, is there a time skip for Hammer?
Of course.
Okay. So next up, do you guys know how your story is going to end? Do you guys already know how this whole thing ends for your respective series? Let's go back with Jay. Jay, you know how Hammer is going to end when it's all said and done?
Every single chapter is planned out. Yes.
Okay. Whyt, sorry.
Basically, the simple answer is yes. I do it in such a way where I know how it ends with some things that are subject to not necessarily change but improve, since I haven't done them yet. And I have everything, for the most part, at least 2 outlines of like what happens in each volume and what happens in each chapter to a great degree. So the further out the series goes, the less defined. But I pretty much know everything that's going to happen. Apple Black altogether, even with and like including the time skip, is going to be about, like, in my head, like 30 volumes.
Okay. All right. And Andrea, what about you with Saigami?
I don't have every chapter planned out by the eyes because I like to make up things as I go, but I do know where the story is heading and I do know the ending.
Okay. All right. Okay. And last part of the three-part question is, this is just a simple question, but if you guys are all creators, all you guys, this was kind of your first thing that you've done. And most of you, Jay's have more experience than that, but has there been something in your respective series that in most of your cases was the first thing you guys did that you're like, man, now that you're 4 years into it or 5 years into it with Saturday AM, that you say, oh man, I kind of wish I had changed this, but I'm going to go with it, or I'll change it in my own way or my own time. Is there anything that you look back and you kind of wish you'd done it differently? Let's start with you, Whyt.
So for me, I think that my earlier work, the backgrounds in Apple Black, I think could be better. So it's actually cool because right now in the arc in Apple Black, I'm destroying some of the buildings. So I can actually rebuild it in the image that I want. And then also there were some things in the way I structured the land and how the ethnicities are divided. And I wish that the current city, Black Bottom Island, was like earlier on was as diverse as I want it to be now. So like slowly in the series, I'm just gonna flat out change it in such a way that's seamless and not necessarily an issue. So I wish there was more diverse characters, not just in ethnicity, but like in size, height, all that kind of stuff.
Sure, yeah, body type, yeah,
yeah, in that realm. but like I'm working my way around it. So because eventually there will be, spoiler alert, some kind of like at some point there will be like something that's similar to a tournament style arc, and we'll get to see a more diverse scene. But slowly I'm changing it. It bothers me sometimes with the background thing, but slowly I'm kind of like writing myself into a corner where I'm fixing all those issues slowly.
Yeah, I do like that. I love. First of all, I love that answer because I think that's always a thing that we've publishing you guys. I've run. We've had so many creators that come in and out of Saturday AM, or not go out of Saturday AM. We've only a handful of people who have ever left us, but so many creators that we deal with that this comes up so often. And I always tell them that the mark of a good creator is to work through what you have created. Everybody's got stuff that didn't work the first time, and there's some circumstances where you just have to change it. And if you're in a team situation, your artist dips out on you and so forth. Then yes, you may have to change the plot a little bit so that you can recreate it from scratch because you couldn't get it going the first time with your co-creator. That happens. But when it's you and you're the writer and artist, I'm a big believer in what Whyt just said. Work through it, find a way to do it. It's been being done for decades at companies like Marvel and DC. Different writers come on as Spider-Man, X-Men, Batman, the Justice League, and they have to take what came before, and it might not be the way that they would do that character, but they come up with, particularly if they're a good writer or a good creator, they come up with a way to incorporate what happened before, but subtly change it so that it now exists in a new way. And I think that that's the mark of a good creator. I think every creator should have to do that. And so you should never run from things that you messed up on. Jay, is there something that you've done that with Hammer where you're like, man, I wish I'd done this differently, or you got it right the first time?
Well, when it comes to the pages, I think my art style just, you can see it just gets better, as time goes on. I mean, it's kind of rough in the very beginning because that's when I first was getting used to that particular style. I changed my style from my last series. So, but as it is now, I think, and back then, I mean, I think it looks good. I think, it flows well. The one thing that I wish I would have changed, honestly, while I was writing this story, I wish I would have been a little bit more, I guess I wish I was paying attention a little more as to how long I was making it, because I wanted it to only be about 8 books, and it is 8 arcs technically. But I mean, I wanted each book to be an arc, as opposed to what it's probably going to be, which is I don't know, a 10 to 20 volume series. So I mean, that would be cool, but that's not my intention. So I wish I would have paid attention a little bit more while I was writing it down. But I mean, I'm super excited for it, so it's not really, if anything, it's a happy mistake, like Bob Ross says. So
absolutely. Okay, and Andrea, what about you? Anything that you saw that you wish you could have fixed, or you regret having done?
Yeah, obviously there are a bunch of artistic mistakes that I wish I could fix. Of course, for the perfect edition, I can do a bunch of fixes like that, so that's a great opportunity. And there's one thing that I really, really do regret, and that is having Ayumi to be half Japanese. If I were to restart it now, I would.
I'm getting ready to say, if that's not it, I'll have to speak up and say, I wish he had fixed that. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So, folks, so you guys know, I bring this up all the time. Now, what you don't know is I bring it up to these guys as well. It's not like these guys don't get me critiquing them as much as I would you guys as well. I brought up the whole question of diversity and stuff. We've got, again, on this call, 2 people of color. We got one girl who's from Hungary. And I bring it up all the time because I just think that the world that we're moving into, and this obviously was something that I saw 5 years ago, is such that having a diverse world is important for a variety of reasons, but it's also financially rewarding. So if you're in the business of selling stories to people, you better have a diverse series. And so I think, look, everyone understands that message. Everyone's adopted it. Saigami is the one I do look at. Saigami and Bullied are 2 that I always look at and just wish to myself, I wish they had done this or done that. Now we're in the process. I've been talking with Raymond Brown about making some things to kind of evolve Bullied. But with Andrea, I always look at her character and think, there's nothing about this character that needs to be Japanese. There is nothing about that character that needs to be Japanese. If we cast that movie, it's going to be really damn hard to cast that movie. But Regardless, what I do love with Andrea and with Saigami and Ayumi as the character is that there's a YouTuber who recorded a video about Saigami. It was a young, I believe, like Asian girl, Muslim girl, or Arabic girl. I'm not sure which, but she talked about the series, and she had such love in her eyes. She talked about it, and it just goes to show that good material, as our guys have, is universal and will span different cultures, different communities. I still believe very much in diversity and the fact that it's needed, and that we should stop this game of trying to replicate the Japanese aesthetic when we not aesthetic, but ethnicity when people aren't Japanese. But at the same time, you know, good stories persevere, and I'm really happy that our creators have created great work that does persevere. That's why you guys are on this chat tonight. I'm going to go real quickly through a couple of questions that are just kind of technical publishing things, and then we will get to the Kickstarter to wrap it up, and then we're done because we have gone late and we all have work to do. So I know there are many, many questions. The good news is that Whyt, Andrea, and Jay aren't going anywhere. They're with Saturday AM. They're working hard on their stories for the next issues of Saturday AM, and they're working very hard to make sure this Kickstarter is a success. They will have individual chats in the future where you can reach out to them, whether it's through Instagram or it's through their own YouTube channels. You will have an opportunity to ask them the questions that maybe that we can get to tonight, and I implore you to follow all of them on their respective social media. So a couple of quick questions here you guys had. Let's see here. We'll do another pitch session like this. This is the show we do on YouTube. You will see another show. It will not be tied to the way this was set up with generic pitch sessions, most likely. I never say never, but we will do another pitch session episode, of course. When that will happen, I don't know. But you certainly, if you follow us, you will find out. And hopefully you'll have an opportunity to participate in that. Would you describe the copywriting process of your comics as difficult or tedious? Folks, this is one thing that comes up a lot from people who are serious, and I always love this question because this is a real question. No offense to the other questions, but this is a real question about the business, and I care about the business of what you guys are doing. Look, you do not need to spend money copywriting or trademarking your work. The fact that you do it and it exists means it's copyrighted. Now, if you only did it once and you never did it again, well, then it's not copyrighted. It's that simple. I mean, it exists, but it has no weight. Saturday AM has weight right now. Now, we're in the process of trademarking our marks, but that doesn't change the fact that Saturday AM right now is pretty protected, right? If someone tried to copy what we did, we could sue them in 2 seconds. And so this comes back to the idea that that creators should spend less time trying to do things that are outside of their realm and more time and just trying to focus on telling their story and getting it out there and not worrying about immediately being showered with praise and immediately being treated like they're great. I saw a note on one of the chats that I did. One of my other YouTube shows called Pub Talk, and this is where, as a publisher, I talk about the industry and things that affect Saturday AM. And a young man, actually, it was a pitch session, the previous pitch session, and some young man, Nolan something, had posted a note, as is his right. He was very polite. He didn't say anything rude. But he was like, you know, it sounds like you're kind of, you know, talking down to people, this, that, and the other. And he's like, you know, it's like that may, you know, your rules may work for Saturday AM, but, you know, like that doesn't mean, you know, that works for everybody. Well, there's two things, right? One, this is about Saturday AM. This is not about someone else. This is about Saturday AM. We can only talk about Saturday AM. I can't tell you what Marvel does. I can tell you what my experience with Marvel and DC and other companies are and what they do in some cases that we do differently. I can talk about that because I have experience about it, but I can't talk about what it's like to work for them because I do not and have not worked for them. So I thought that was kind of a ridiculous idea to bring up. But the other part of it was the notion that, we're talking down to people. Folks, if we're talking from experience, and that's the benefit of actually sticking to what you're doing and just doing it. When you actually just do your work and don't worry about the accolades and the promotion, this, that, and the other, you just do the work, then guess what? You have authority. You can talk about what you've experienced and people will listen because you've actually put the work in. It's amazing when people feel like they can say things and they've not put the work in. So from that perspective, when it comes to this idea of trying to do things from a business standpoint, like getting copyrights, I'm telling you, this is not a concern. the chief concern you should have is creating your comic book. Do it regularly, get on a schedule, release it every week, every month, every 2 weeks, whatever your schedule is, but do it. And whatever you're doing it with, it will take time. It may take years, but you will build not only a sizable body of work, but you will build credibility. And in that context, it can be legally rewarding, because someone trying to copy what you do, when you've got a history of the work and it's publicly available, whether it's on another website or it's on your own website, or you publish it as a comic book that can be picked up in stores or picked up online, it's available, the links are there and so forth, means that you've got legal protection. So again, the answer is always, don't worry about the things that you have no control over. The thing you have control over is your work. Do the work. Don't talk about it. Don't pontificate about it. Don't put down other people about it. Just do your work. Stay true to what you're trying to do, and you will reap the benefits of it one way or the other. There's a question here about Jwak Prada. I guess he was a creator of your portrait, said it was porn. I didn't say it was porn. I said so when you're mentioning Faku, that is porn. So let's be clear. And as far as first of all, we all were very positive about your portrait. So let me say again, we think your portrait and you as an artist is quite strong, and we would love to see more of that stuff. I didn't see 18 pages of your material, but we'd love to see more of your stuff. To be clear, again, Saturday AM is Western. This is I just talked about with Andrea regarding Saigami. Saturday AM is Western. We have Western ideas about storytelling, meaning that while we play with the aesthetic of Japanese manga, or we play with the formatting of Japanese manga, we do not play with the cultural aspects of Japanese manga. Our characters aren't going to have nosebleeds when a girl comes up to them. Our characters aren't going to immediately cite their blood type as being a way to explain who they are. Our characters aren't going to, necessarily take their shoes off when they go in a house. There are lots of things that exist in Japanese manga that just won't exist in our work, because our work is global. It has global implications, and some of the storytelling cultural aspects are very Western. I'm not going to publish a series about a sexualized young woman who's 13 years old. I'm not going to do that because I care about the audience that we talk to. And so that's the difference. And so from that perspective, again, if you were really into manga and you think that some of those things are normal and you're citing those things like, well, the Japanese do it with Yuna and other series, that's great. We're not them. So try your luck with them. We're not them. With us, it will be different. You will change what you're doing to fit the audiences that we speak with, which is a more global, more westernized thinking audience. Therefore, some of the things you can get away with in manga just won't be happening with us. It just can't. But doesn't mean you can't tell great stories. Doesn't mean you can't produce a really authentic feeling sort of manga. But it also has a unique perspective to it. But please don't use examples to us as if somehow we're new to this. I know exactly what Yuna and some of the other titles are. I know what fetishism is. I know what panty shots are. And my thing is always the same. Does your story need it? Does your story need it? Even if it's Saturday PM, does your story need it? Does it speak to what the story is about? If it's a sex comedy, then obviously it's okay. If it's a story about kids who are trying to, create a mecha or something like that, what is a panty shot needed for? Especially if the character is meant to be a young girl. Why is that needed? I don't think it is. And so there's the difference. Youngest creator in Saturday AM is Dan Tularshevek, who was 17. We started working with him. He's now, I believe, 18, going on 19. And then for Saturday PM, it's Jeffrey Jean-Louis, who was 19, going on 20. Let's see, I believe that's roughly it. So there we go. I believe that's roughly it. But I think that, again, I think that the talent that we saw tonight was really extraordinary. Really appreciative of all the great titles that we saw tonight. Whyt, do you have any last comments you want to give to the folks?
My last comment, and this is going to be a plot twist. My last comment is, if you have a question, I probably made a video about it.
Yeah, true. Andrea, any last comments or questions?
If you have any questions, Whyt probably has a video about it. Yeah. Just please check out the Kickstarter and help us reach your goal. And yeah, you can always send us DMs and stuff like that. I always try my best to answer everyone. So yeah, this is fun.
Okay, all right. And Jay, anything from you, buddy?
Yeah, if you have any questions, DM me. I try to reply back to as many as I can. I've been really busy, so if I don't reply back immediately, then don't lose hope. Eventually, I will. And yeah, support the Kickstarter. If you can't donate a lot, then at least pre-order a book. Saigami, Apple Black, Warhammer. The $25 tiers, you still get a lot. So I mean, and definitely spread the word. Tell your friends, especially if they like manga or any type of comic. I think they'll enjoy us. So yeah.
Yeah, so all right. Well, so then, folks, real quickly again, we have a Kickstarter. It's happening right now. We are just a little shy of $7,000. We're trying to raise $10,000. Our goal was to take our amazing, diverse Shonen manga brand that you see right here with all these great, diverse characters, Black female characters like Clock Striker, Indian superheroes like Nilai Rao of Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts, Black male characters like Dante from Soul Beat or Issa from Better Off Ignorant, combined with Asian characters like Spoon, French characters like Comet Man, Nicaraguan characters like Eli from Titan King, and then you've got Bully Eater, Paradise Down, Mutton Chop, Apple Black, Saigami, Crunch Time. Big series. We are super proud of what we've started with Saturday AM. And folks, we really want your help to take it to the next level and have our books sitting in your local bookstore, your local library, alongside of the fairy tales, the One Pieces, the Narutos, the Dragon Balls, and so on and so forth. I think we can compete. Do you guys think we can compete? If you want, we can. If you want to help us get there and help these great creators that we've got, then help us get to our goal of $10,000. We've got 16 days left. We are giving away amazing prizes, including commissions by Whyt Manga, Andea Voros, and Jeyodin, digital magazines, gift cards on our online store, bookmarks, stickers, and of course, some brand new digital magazines that you can only get in the Kickstarter. So please check it out. You can find it on our website, www.saturday-am.com. You can find all the information there, including some of these guys, the stories these guys are telling, the first chapters of some of their work. We really hope you guys will give us a chance. If not, if you can't support us for this Kickstarter financially, then support us spiritually. Just give the link to people that would like what we do, and tell them to check us out. We would so appreciate it. To that end, we're going to be doing more stuff on our respective social media channels. So if you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, then you will get more information about things that we're working on. You get more information about the prizes we're giving away, the rewards we're giving away in relationship to the Kickstarter. We're going to be doing more of these sort of one-on-one chats. So please subscribe to Jeyodin's social media, Andea Voros' social media, and Whyt Manga's social media if you have not already done so, so that they can get more specific information to you or answer some of your specific questions. Last but not least, that I want to talk about is we're going to be doing another episode of our podcast. I'm going to hopefully have Whyt there. We're going to talk about Whyt is really big into music. So our podcast is a different format. It allows us to kind of talk and not really feel any pressure of time and stuff, and just kind of explore ideas. So I want to get into Whyt's head a little bit about what makes him tick and more about how he came with the idea of Apple Black. I promise you've never really heard Whyt in this way. So this will be a great way for us to do that. We're going to be doing it via our podcast. We will let you guys know. Hopefully it'll be definitely during the time frame of this Kickstarter, which does end on November 1st. So again, about 16 days to go. We want to hit our goal. We're going to hit our goal, but we want to go past our goal. So we got some great additional prizes, including foreign languages for our books, if we can get past our goal. So help us get to that goal, folks. We really appreciate it. I also want to give a shout out to all of the creators who participated, sent material in for the chat tonight. Even if we did not get to you, please do know that we are huge fans of what you guys did tonight, what you submitted in. We think that all of you guys have amazing talent, and we hope you guys will continue to get your work out there. I'm going to give a quick rundown for those folks who may have missed it. Voidmen, you can read this in issue 91 of Saturday AM right now. Go to our store, find the issue. You can read the full installment of Voidmen by these two creators from the Netherlands. We all thought this was a really solid piece of work. We think the artwork can get stronger. We think that some of their pacing issues were a bit off, but as a concept with a pitch that could be a series that people want to check out, we think Voidman is on its way. Give it a try inside of issue 91. Let us know what you think, and you may see Voidman pop up past that. Sprayser from Keith Williams. This was a title that we thought was kind of interesting. The idea of kind of Super Sentai sort of characters in a My Hero Academia school. I think the artwork is really strong on this. Again, if you're going to use a Sentai motif in My Hero Academia, which right now is being just completely exploited. Every young artist wants to create My Hero Academia, just like a couple of years ago they tried to do Dragon Ball and Naruto and Final Fantasy and stuff like that. If you're going to do that, then really play up the Power Rangers part. Does that mean robots? Does that mean like Megazords? Does that mean motorcycles? That there's something unique about the helmets there? This artist is good. This artist is really good. This concept needs a lot more to make this really unique, but this artist is really strong. By the way, we have a concept that is like Super Sentai for Saturday AM by the great Blake Showers. It's called Tortuga Force 5. You can see it inside of issue 93. Check it out if you want to see some really good stuff featuring that. Next up, we talked about Zaidura. This is by an artist, I believe his name's Christian or CJ. Fantasy series. Not a lot of unique stuff there, but there are some pages online that you can find for Zaidura. You can just Google this and find it. The artwork is solid. Solid artwork is not particularly mind-blowing in any one direction, but it's extremely competent. Just looks like a standard fantasy series. I wish there was more of a hook to it, but this series, if this creator stays with it, could be something unique, particularly if they try to add a hook to it and make it maybe a different perspective. Maybe some more diversity of the characters. At least some of the characters are elves, but this series just seems like it needs more to just go beyond just being a standard webcomic version of a fantasy. But I do like the artwork here. Jabroni by Angel Pedraza. I hope I'm saying this correctly. We actually were going to publish a wrestling series that I was really excited by. This series did seem to offer some ideas that appealed to wrestling fans like Whyt Manga. Whyt seemed up on this. The artwork we saw was pretty impressive for this. So I would hope that the My Hero Academia part, again, could get shredded in lieu of something that made a bit more sense and more uniqueness with this. There's so many things you can do with WWE, so many concepts you can go with on this. But did love the name, love a little bit of artwork we saw. This has potential, but again, I've got to admit, I've got a soft spot for El Toro, which I hope one day we will get to publish again. Solstice, this was a series from a young girl named Kayla Gilliam. Avatar meets DBZ, standard kind of revenge character. The main character was out of commission, comes back to her world, has to rescue it and save it. Again, kind of like the fantasy series, we know what this is, we know what it's about. There's really nothing wrong with it. Artwork was decent, not strong in any one direction. I would tell this creator to really seriously think about the Avatar part and what makes this Avatar. There's something unique about the powers or about the legacy or lineage of the powers that makes this kind of like Avatar. Perhaps that gives the series more uniqueness. It did seem to have some cultural pieces to it with the gods and so forth. But right now it seems kind of standard. And we want, again, if you're going to pitch this, if you're going to pitch anything, you got to try to find what makes it different. You can't just say it's like this meets this. It has to actually have some element of those things that makes it dramatically different. When I say Batman meets Yu-Gi-Oh, you know what those two properties are. That's not the point. You know what those properties are. It's the fact that you've never seen those two properties together. Avatar meets DBZ, a character who powers up. It seems too similar, and there's not enough uniqueness there to make me wonder what this combination is about. So hopefully we'll see some different stuff there. And I hear someone saying, I think the Avatar part of the main character was frozen and wakes up. That's not a hook. That's not a hook that we need. I mean, if that's the hook you're putting to, that's just a plot point. That's not what a pitch is. A pitch is not, I'm going to take this plot point and say, and because my plot's similar to that plot, I'm just going to use that as the plot point. Again, Batman versus Yu-Gi-Oh! There's no plot points there that are similar, right? There's no plot point to Yu-Gi-Oh! That's similar to Batman. There's no plot point there. But those two things smashed together immediately start making you think about the possibilities of a character who uses cards to fight crime at night and so on and so forth. Again, you got to have something unique to make a pitch work. Psychics, another great example. This artist looks really strong, but this is kind of Tokyo Ghoulish. It's kind of Mob Psycho 100. The plot is very similar to both of these ideas. And so again, it loses something in the uniqueness. In the case of Solstice, just like in the case of the fantasy title, it's very possible that execution means everything here. But right now, at least from seeing the pitch, very curious, because the artwork seems to be promising, but there needs to be more stuff here. There needs to be, if you're going to make a pitch suggestion, give us something unique. Tokyo Ghoul meets Mob Psycho 100. Maybe that could have been Tokyo Ghoul meets, My Little Pony, or give me something different that makes me think how those two things go together, because there's got to be something unique there to make the series stand out from titles that already exist, that are already really good. What do you bring to the table? That's what a pitch has to do, is ask why you're doing something similar. Baking Bushido, I'm on board for this. I hope this creator continues doing what they're doing. Wesley Jamal Fleming, I hope they continue doing what they're doing, because this is really cool. I thought it was great. I thought the artwork was totally amateurish and fun in a good way. And, we all seem to dig it for what it was. Daisy Push, probably one of the more original things we saw tonight. Certainly the name is really strong. Ricardo Antonio, Coco meets Naruto. Again, comes down to execution. This has me with a pitch that seems very solid, because I don't equate Naruto and Coco together, but it's going to come down to how you execute this. I hope to maybe see something of this in the future. And then last but not least, Your Portrait. I think there's something here. I think there could be something really cool here. I would love to see, again, something that deals more with Latin American culture, because I think that's a culture that does not get exploited enough in popular culture, particularly when it comes to manga. And there's nothing about this that requires Japanese elements to it. The plot seems pretty generic as well, but the artist is absolutely phenomenal. And so if the artist could really do something original, had original idea, had original context here, and was able to involve a more serious exploration of the sex aspects to it, we certainly would love to talk about this on Saturday PM. I'd be totally down for it. So these are the titles we did see tonight, talked about tonight. You can watch the full discussion on the video if you watch the review of this. But again, we have more people submit content in. We want to thank all of them for doing so. And that's going to be it. So, folks, our Kickstarter ends November 1st. So 16 days away. We're asking for your help. Please come and support us with this Kickstarter so that we can bring these amazing characters, because this kicks off a whole new line. These characters combined with the future characters like Clock Striker, like Master Multiplier of the Ghost, like Paradise Down, so on and so forth, will be coming to that format. We need to keep that format off right. That's why we got our heavy hitters, Jeyodin of Hammer, Whyt Manga of Apple Black, Andea Voros of Saigami. So again, we're going to be talking about this for the rest of these next 2 weeks. Please don't get sick of us doing it, because we're just trying to make this thing happen. But you will see more and more discussions about it. You'll see more and more chats about it. You will see that podcast episode. And I'm sure these three creators will be taking some time out to address you guys directly on their social media accounts. Again, my name is Frederick Jones with Saturday AM. I want to thank so much Whyt, Andrea, and Jay for taking time out of their schedules to be on this long chat tonight. Guys, you want to give any final words to our fans?
Deuces.
Yes. All right. Andrea?
I don't know. It was fun. I was happy to do this. So looking forward to the next time.
Okay. All right. Whyt?
Give us your money.
Well said, to the point. All right, guys, thank you so much. We will see you guys again. We will definitely have another pitch session. Issue 95 will come out this week, so if you're a subscriber, we appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber, what are you doing? It only costs $5, and that's not a part of the Kickstarter, by the way. The subscription, $5, not a part of the Kickstarter. So please, if you want to subscribe and support us, pay $5. You can do so, and then you can support the Kickstarter and get all the other cool stuff. We'd appreciate that. That's it. So thank you again. Thank the team, and we will be in touch again. Take care, everybody.